the podcast called Do Go On. My name is Dave Warnicky, and I'm here. God, I hope you know what it's called by now. I'm here with Matt Stewart. That's Matt.
Hey, Dave, what about new listeners? You always forget, it's not like everyone's just listened to 70 episodes.
No, I feel like it's more of a contract. You listen to one episode, you're in for the long haul. You got to start from the start.
Yeah, right. It's binge watching. Otherwise, you wouldn't understand what's happened.
That's how iTunes works, isn't it? We don't have a previously on Do Go On.
We should do that.
But previously on Do Go On, we have featured not a guest, but a co-host, Jess Perkins, and here she is again.
Hello, here I am.
Oh,
This is like a podcast prenup.
What if
We get you one, we get you for all.
Jess actually isn't a co-host. At the end of every episode, it just says guest starring Jess Perkins, and 71 episodes in, it's a bit like, maybe you could just...
Hey, just let her star.
Let her be a star. Guest starring Jess Perkins.
I'm okay with that. Or you know how it always says...
special guest star.
Or when it says like an introducing...
Oh, I love that.
I'd like that.
I'd love to be in a film. Never been in a feature film. Would love that. So it could come up as introducing Dave Warnicky.
Little Davey Warnicky.
I like introducing, but I think I like even more like someone who's been around for a while, and they save them right for the end, and it says, and Tom Clancy as Johnny Rotten.
Oh, it says the exact... that famous military rider as that famous 70s punk rocker.
Jeez, that's why I'm good at. I'm an improv master. You give me a topic, name some names, and I will come up with stuff really inventive, really interesting stuff, and then we'll play with it from there.
Do they do just that and introducing just for child actors?
Tends to be young people, from what I've noticed.
So it couldn't debut at 45.
Why not?
Oh, maybe if they're introducing.
I mean, you're as old as you feel, you know. You're as
You're
old as you feel.
You're as old as the bloody. There's
that improv again.
Here we go.
You're as old as
Here
your
it
bloody.
comes.
You're as old as the bloody.
Tom Clancy?
You're as old as bloody.
Birth certificate
you're
indicates.
Old as your bloody woman you feel.
You're as old as the woman you feel?
That is an old man joke.
Yeah,
I've heard it.
I didn't come up with that. If I did, bloody hell, I'd be
You'd
proud
be
as
a
a
creep,
punch.
yeah.
You'd be rich.
Bloody, you're only as old as the woman you feel.
You're only as old as the bloody young woman that you're tricking to going out with, yeah? Because you got lots of money.
Yeah, that is...
You're only that bloody old.
Because the undertone of that is that you're feeling younger women, I think.
Like, physically
Is that the
feeling
undertone,
them.
or is that just the tone?
That's the tone.
The tone.
And they're not people. They're just things to feel.
Yeah, if I'm as old as the woman I feel, I'm going to jail.
Oh, Dave.
You're as...
Hang on.
Look,
Wait,
I was trying to play a character there, but I sort of used my own voice by accident.
You did.
Didn't distance myself enough
also,
from that.
The way I imagined Matt's character was like a 60-year-old man with like a 21-year-old woman. When you said it in your voice, it was like you were touching children.
But also, it didn't have,
No,
wasn't it all related to whether or not you're doing anything illegal?
Yeah.
You just said, if I'm as old as the woman I feel, then I'm going to jail. Does that just means you're going to jail for the age you are?
Oh, yeah. God, that was confusing, Dave. You're bad at improv.
How am I copying the flack on this one?
No,
Because you
Jess
just
is
said
right
the
there.
creepy thing.
You said a creepy thing that also didn't make any sense.
Yeah, we haven't said anything creepy.
Let me just
in
say,
minutes.
you're only as old... No, fuck. You're only as feel as the woman you old. That's what I wanted to say, but I ended up accidentally saying the right thing.
Dave, that was not the right thing. It was the wrong thing.
Dave, you made us all very uncomfortable.
You're only as uncomfortable as the woman you
You
talk to
feel.
on your podcast and say something strange.
Oh, I'm the woman on the podcast.
You are.
Oh,
That's
cool.
all you are to him. The woman on the podcast.
Hey, when you guys were discussing getting a third person, he was like, we should get a woman, right?
I don't remember him saying it like that, but I think Dave has told the story that way.
Did he
haven't you,
say
Dave?
it like, I suppose we should?
I remember
Yuck.
saying, look, let's just get the best available talent. And
Matt did. It was
he
very
drunk?
strange. Yes, as he often is.
Yeah, true.
and they obviously said no.
Yeah, and then we thought, well, let's call Jess.
We went through a list.
Well, then we
Everybody
sort of just
had their own podcast.
we looked out of the corner of our eye, and you were sitting in the room at the time.
Yeah.
And we thought, oh,
Just
may as well-
doodling. I just had a colouring book,
Yeah.
as I often do.
May as well. I mean, it's quite convenient. She is right there.
And after 72 weeks of guest starring,
Yep.
we've been putting you through your paces. You probably want to know. We have come to a decision.
Okay.
I'm afraid this will be your last episode.
Ow.
But it's been great. It's been a great run.
But do I have to stay for the whole episode, or can I leave now?
You will have to sit there. We'll turn your mic off and you have to sit there awkwardly. It's part of the
You're
show.
going to have to sit here till the 100th episode because that is
But no
how
mic.
you would want it to be.
Oh yeah,
Nice
true.
even
72 would really piss me off. That's really unfair, actually.
Hey Jess, you
Yeah.
weren't Miss Right, but you were Miss Right over there at the time. I had to wait a while for Dave to bloody get his long diatribe out before I got that gold. I'm going to edit his bit out and leave mine in.
That was worth it.
What do you think about Miss? That's a weird thing that men don't have to make a decision about?
Miss.
Well, yeah, because we're Mister basically from birth.
True.
Though I have told the bank many times that I'm
Master?
now a man, and they still send me credit cards at 26 that say master.
No, really?
Go fuck yourself.
Are you sure that's you? Is it from MasterCard? That's not. That's a different thing. That's an entirely different.
Yeah.
Call me Visa, Warnicky. Fuck.
You don't really still get mail that says Master Warnicky,
No,
do
I
you?
still do. I'll show you my
Are
credit
you
card
kidding
right
I
me?
here.
forgot about Master. Yeah, no,
Look at
that's
that.
true.
Master David J. Warnicky.
Holy shit, it actually does.
And if you'd like to read out the number there, Jess.
Everybody, we're all
That
going
is really weird.
to go shopping on Dave's credit. That's so weird that says Master.
They see your photo and like, all right, mate.
But also, why are they giving... So Master, what age would we say a Master is?
Like 15 or
I've
something.
forgotten about. Yeah, I guess.
And
I would have
also-
even said 12. So they're giving that kid a credit
And
card?
they're emailing me constantly saying, would you like to increase your limit to $12,000? A 12-year-old kid.
Fucking hell. See, I'm not
really
even
strange.
sure between
Second
like...
card there, Jess. That's the second one that says
The
I've got
second one that says
two
Master.
credit cards, everybody.
Again, this card number. Oh,
I'm in a lot of trouble.
Platinum card, Dave.
I'm pretty sure it starts at platinum these days.
You are doing very well indeed.
There's my
This one doesn't expire till 2020. It's a fun new card.
membership card at Spud Bar, the potato shop there. Does not say master. Doesn't say anything on it. It's got no details.
Are you just going through your wallet now?
I've got a working with children check.
Does that say Master?
Yeah, that's right. I'm younger than the children that they've checked on that I'm allowed
Oh,
to
your
work
hair's
with.
bad in that one.
That is no good.
Look, they've put on the offender filter to make
Yeah.
me look like I shouldn't work with children. That was a perfectly good photo I sent them, and they put the filter on to make me look evil.
As you were getting that photo taken, you made the joke.
You're only as...
You're only as feel as the woman you hold. Hang on, let me do it again. It was a very awkward visit to that primary school office.
Hey Dave,
They used to perform at primary schools.
people always ask, like, is there a way that you could get Dave to just briefly surmise what the show is about? And I was wondering if we could get you to do that now.
Okay.
What is Do Go On
So
to
do
you?
go on, essentially. It's one mister, one miss, one master, locked in a room where one of them is the master or the mister. are given the topic, are given the opportunity to report on a topic to the miss and the mister, or the miss and the master, or the mister and the master. Was that pretty good?
I mean, it's pretty
It's pretty good.
So welcome, new listeners.
pretty concise. And I think that ticks all the boxes.
I actually just read that from the iTunes description.
What is the difference between a miss and a ms as well, by the way?
I believe I'll fill this one.
Why is Jess asking?
Because I don't know.
I
and I'm
think
never
it's-
sure because I don't really like MISS. It looks a bit yuck and it feels very young.
'Cause
So
Mrs.
sometimes I'll write ms, but then I'm just not sure anymore.
Because Mrs. sort of feels like the master.
Yes, exactly. That's what I mean. It feels young.
Whereas, and I think Mrs. is supposedly, I think, is when you get married, right?
Mrs.
Right.
And I
yes.
think Ms. is like you go, I want it. Ms. is like an attempt to
Spinster.
get rid of, it's the attempt to be the equivalent of master, I think. So you don't change if you're married or not. You just Ms. Like Mr.
okay.
doesn't change.
Yeah,
but,
sure.
But you don't become a Ms. automatic. I think it's up to you. You can also be like, look, I might be married. I might not be married,
Yeah.
but I don't really want to disclose that.
And I think it's also sort of like if I did get married, I wouldn't change my name. But
But would you be Mrs. Perkins?
no. No, because I'm not Mrs. Perkins. That's my mum.
Ah, right.
Please,
That's
Mrs. Perkins
Mrs.
is my
Perkins.
father's name.
Good point. I mean, there's no reason I
never
could be if I wanted to be.
Yeah.
Do you think
That's so weird.
if I
isn't
get
it?
married, will I still be a master?
Probably.
Is that how I graduate?
That's the
Commonwealth
only
Bank
way.
are like, no worries. You can have a credit card with Mister as long as you forward us your marriage certificates and date of birth.
And your wife has to sign it as well.
Your legal guardian /wife.
Young man.
Young man. Though we are willing to increase your credit limit to $50,000.
Anyway, that makes
For the
sense.
honeymoon.
Yeah, good for you.
Hey,
Anyway,
It's great to be married, I've got to tell you.
Yeah.
Dave, one part you missed out of that, the intro, was we always start with a question.
We do start with a question. And this week, the Mr. will be starting with that question. That's you, Mr. Matt Stewart.
Mr. Matt. You can call me Mr. Matt.
To get us onto the topic, Mr. Matt.
When I was in Bali, they called me Miss Jess, and it was the best thing ever.
Miss Jess.
Good morning, Miss Jess. I'd be like, fuck, I love that so
Morning,
much.
Miss Jess.
I love it. Anyway,
Does
Mr. Matt.
sounds nice, Miss Jess.
Master Dave. Yeah, okay, I like this a lot. Mr. Matt, go for it.
Good morning, Master Dave.
Here's the question this week. I got a follow-up question if you get this one. I'd be curious because this topic is something that I don't know a lot about, but I've found it interesting to get into, and I think it's the kind of topic that's like I reckon has got a similar world of fans and experts like a comic book world would.
Ah.
Which wrestler has held championships in 5 decades, from 1970s to the 2010s, whatever you call that decade, and was the first man to win both the WWF and WCW Triple Crown championships?
I have
All right.
no idea.
Big fan of wrestling growing up over here.
Yes, all right. Interesting. I had no idea.
Okay.
Oh, we learned so much about you.
But I
every
was
week.
just curious. So if you...
5
well,
decades.
before you go then,
Right, well, let
maybe
Jess-
let's see if Jess can name any, because I reckon I could have named
The Rock.
3. Yeah, he's one of the big ones that I would have thought. It's not him.
Mr. Magic.
Is that one, Dave?
I'm making
Not that I
this
know
up.
of, but I imagine that there
Yeah,
was
it's got to be
somewhere.
Mr. Magic. I probably will know some names as you mention them, but I really can't think of any.
Not a
right
lot
now.
in this story. The ones I would have thought of were The Rock,
Yeah,
Hulk Hogan,
Hulk Hogan.
and...
That was going to be my guess, Hulk Hogan, because he's been around for so long.
No, it's not Hulk Hogan.
Okay.
You
Is it
throw
going to be a
some names
name
at
that
me.
we know?
So 5 separate,
I'm guessing
5 separate
He
decades.
might.
5 separate decades,
Okay.
from the 70s all the
That's
way to the
insane.
2000s.
So the ones that have been around for a long time, you got Hulk Hogan.
It's not Hulk Hogan.
You got maybe The Undertaker?
It's not The Undertaker. I've heard of him, though.
Heard
I've
of The
heard of
Undertaker?
The Undertaker.
Stone Cold Steve Austin, but he hasn't been around that long. He's not even alive that long. But
It's
he
not-
was my
he's
favourite
briefly-
going up. I fucking loved Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, interesting. Well, this story sort of leads up to when he got big.
Oh, cool. Big fan of The Rock growing up as well, but he hasn't been around long. I would say the only one I can think of that's old enough and probably still wrestles and did at least 10 years ago, the Nature Boy Ric Flair.
It is no. I've heard of him as well.
Damn!
Is that
Well done,
Ravishing
Dave.
Ric Flair?
Yeah, so they all go through different nicknames and stuff. Yeah. He would have, his catchphrase was this. Woo!
That's a great
That was legit his
catchphrase.
catchphrase.
What a catchphrase! All right, maybe I can give you a
That-
hint by telling you this guy's catchphrase or one of them, and it's I think it was something like, "I'm the best that is, the best that was, the best that ever will be."
I like that. Better than woo. To be honest.
Oh,
Bit
the other
more
one famous
poetic.
is like Bret the Hitman Hart.
That's him.
Yeah!
Oh, well done, Dave.
Great Simpsons cameo from him.
Yeah, that's right. I
course.
mentioned that. And also,
I had a toy of Bret the Hitman Hart growing up.
so this story is
you?
about him, but that's not the topic necessarily. The topic. I wonder if you know it. What single event is the biggest ever controversy in professional
is
wrestling?
it the death of his brother or cousin?
No, but that is I don't mention that, but I heard about that in the ring because he comes from a big wrestling family.
Yeah.
In a mishap, he was meant to come down from the ceiling,
from the
and
top
he
of the
fell
stadium.
like 50 feet or something.
Oh.
And I did think he landed on the turnbuckle type thing and broke his
Yeah.
neck
It's like this,
in
and
front of a stadium.
the announcer's like,
Oh.
"This is not part of the show."
Oh my god! You don't want to make that announcement.
There was a part that I read, or maybe in the documentary I watched, where Hart was talking about this time that he broke his ribs because he was thrown out of the ring, and the crowd are like abusing him and stuff, like he's still done it, and the guy he's wrestling against thinks it's part of it, so he keeps sort of like
Laying into him.
laying into him in that sort of wrestling style.
Yeah.
Do you believe in wrestling, Jess?
Do I believe in it?
Yeah.
Is it a unicorn, Matt?
Well, no, I didn't realize how fake it is.
It's
I-
very fake.
Yeah, it's entirely.
It's scripted. I'd say
Scripted.
scripted rather than the word fake.
Yeah,
Okay.
sure. Well, yeah, I would say they're more like stuntmen than wrestlers.
Yeah,
You know,
that's-
because
But
like
it's still it
fascinating.
is a very physical job. Obviously, people die.
oh,
falling
totally,
when
and it would
stunts
be
go wrong.
very dangerous because you do have to get it right.
I
And
mean,
like,
I
people
don't-
die working in like factories
Sure,
as well.
sure.
You know? So I don't know if that.
I'm sure people have died in call centers
True.
Right, but you were talking about
from
Old
boredom.
age. Boredom. Old age. All the old people.
There's heaps of old people in my
Oh,
call
they're
center.
right. Oh, there you go.
Please let me leave. Make another call, Grandma. Make a fucking sale. I don't know what I'm selling. What are these Tarzos? Is that what you do, Jess?
Yeah, I sell Tarzos.
Do you sell toys from the mid-90s?
Yeah. No, just Tarzo specifically. I work in the Tarzo factory.
We'll have to make it one of those memes. What Mum thinks I do. What Dave thinks I do. Tarzos.
I think my mum is
What
probably
society thinks I do.
closer to what I do.
Oh, I don't know what the controversy. So you're going to say what it is, or get to it?
So
Because I'm excited.
Well, I'll tell you what it's called, and then the rest of it's building up to it. The controversy, which I'd never heard of, which was voted for, as my topics always are. They're opened up to the Patreon subscribers to vote.
Oh, right. So
Based on suggestions from the broader audience, I then take some out of the hat. This week, the 4 options were, I'll read out the 3 that didn't get voted in. The lowest amount of votes this week was Pastafarianism, which is, the flying spaghetti monster religion.
Oh my god, that is awesome! That would have been a good one, but that was the lowest.
But it got votes. It was relatively close. Then Friends, the sitcom. Then Gallipoli.
Oh, that would be interesting.
Wow, that would have taken you a lot of research.
Yeah,
it's a long one.
That's a big one.
But the winner this week, the Montreal Screwjob.
Oh, I reckon I've heard that, but I didn't even realize it was wrestling related.
Sounds like a cocktail.
So, yeah.
Hey, can we get 3 Montreal Screwjobs? It's a celebration.
I'm the best that ever was. Best that ever was. While he's pouring his cocktails.
And the suggestion initially came from a couple of guys off the Twitters.
And we'd like to thank Bret the Hitman Hart.
Bret the Hitman Hart. Just can't get enough of the story. Now, Lee Hollod.
Owen Hart. That was the guy that died. Sorry, I just remembered.
That's right.
Well done.
So sorry, I took away the thunder of who. What was that person?
Lee Hollod, I'm going to say, at Cannonbod, which is a great Twitter handle. And Suave Gemmo at suavegemo.com.
Suave
No,
Gemmo.
not .com. Why do I have that in? I'm from the 90s. That's how.
.com.
It's an internet thing. It ends in .com.
Or the word 2000, like in 1998.
Yeah.
Like 2000 was so far away you couldn't even think about it. And suddenly it's 2002 and your business is still called like Internet Cafe 2000.
Yeah. Version 2.0.
It's like, mate, we're up to at least version 4.0.
So the story centers on Bret the Hitman Hart. That's his wrestling nickname. He doesn't get it till sort of mid-career, but that's what he's known as now.
Can we give each other wrestling names?
Oh,
/ can you guys do it? Because I'm shit at everything, but I think you guys would be good at
the
it.
Hitman Perkins.
There it is.
I was about to say Hart, which would have been
Dave.
the Hitman Warnicky.
There it is, yep.
Thank you.
What about me, Jess?
Matt. Now, what do we know about Matt?
He's got a beard.
He's a hit with the ladies.
Mm-hmm.
He's a man.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's put 2 and 2 together. He is Bret the Hitman. Oh, no. He is Matt the
Hitman. Hitbeard
Stewart.
There it is.
Thank you.
See, that's interesting, isn't it, Matt? That he puts you, like, if he's categorizing you, he goes beard first
Before
rather
man.
than man. How
Man
does that
second.
feel?
Look, it feels good. Feels right.
Great.
Hey, I don't see gender, but I do see facial hair.
Sure.
And I see it in a lot of places I don't want to.
I reckon the only time I ever remember knowing about the Hitman Hart was from that Simpsons episode you're talking about. Season 8. It was in 97, which is the same time as the Screwjob.
Oh, really? Because he buys Mr. Burns' house.
He buys Mr. Burns' house, and Mr. Burns comes up to him because Mr. Burns has hit trouble, financial trouble, and Mr. Burns takes a portrait of himself off the wall and goes, "Would you mind if I keep this to remind me of the good times?" And then Bret the Hitman Hart, voiced by himself, goes, "Why would I want a picture of a pitiful pencil-necked geek?"
I mean, it's good.
That's
That could be
very good.
Dave's wrestling name.
He's the pitiful pencil neck geek. I'll take it. And then Mr. Burns goes, "Ooh, indeed."
Yeah,
He just puts the painting down.
Aww.
But the other thing, his only other line, I believe, in the show is, "Ooh, this place got old man stink."
Yeah,
when he's like viewing the house.
that's right.
I
And
see. I remember. I can picture Mr. Burns taking the painting down, but I can't picture the other guy.
he was
How
wearing his
funny.
trademark colours, black and pink.
And pink.
And he
Pink shades.
And he wears these shades that look like something Marty McFly would have worn in
Yeah.
the future, Back to the Future 2.
Yeah, they're kind of like sort of lab goggles /
Yeah,
sunglasses.
but like mirrored lab goggles.
Oh,
kind of like
sick.
Like, just imagine Bono gone wrong.
Sick.
I don't know, there's something
Oh,
cool.
Bono gone very right.
Oh yeah.
There's something really cool about him. I watched a quite a famous documentary about him, which was filmed through the year of the Screwjob, and it followed him around the whole time. And you really got to know him. It was like out of character, just backstage with his family and stuff like that.
Wow.
He just seems like he's like a real, normal guy who's just a massive beefcake. He was born in Calgary, Canada, which is my ice hockey team, the Calgary Flames.
Of course
Go
it is.
Flames.
Flames.
As I always say, one of my catchphrases.
On ice.
What made you pick the
I'll
Flames?
melt the ice.
I met
Yeah.
some Calgarian women when I travelled once.
There we go.
Did you meet them at a bar?
Yes.
Didn't meet them at some sort of historical museum.
Yeah,
or
not at
anything,
a
did you?
museum or an art gallery. Met him at a bar.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Where was?
You've got a problem, Matt.
Was it in Canada?
no, I was in Greece.
Oh, okay.
Sure.
On the island of Santorini.
Oh.
Beautiful spot.
Beautiful spot for a tipple.
I was about to say, God, he's travelled so much, but he's 100 years older than us. He's had so much more time.
He's travelled to countries that don't even exist anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, that went under the sea years ago. Under the sea. He was the 8th child in a family of 12 children.
Too many kids.
I've got here...
Do they know what was causing it?
I've
Is
got
that what
here
you've got?
pause for Jess or Dave to say, do they know what's caused it?
My dad has started listening to the podcast. I hope he hears that.
Oh, that's where it's from?
Yeah, it's my dad that
Oh,
says
that's
that all the
great.
time. John Perkins.
John Perkins. It's a
We'll get him on the
JP
pod.
original.
What a dude.
We should have the parent special.
Oh, that would be fun.
His dad was Canadian wrestling legend Stu Hart, and all of their siblings ended up being involved in wrestling.
All of them?
All of them, yeah. Most of the guys became wrestlers, and all 4 sisters married wrestlers.
No way.
All 4.
Why weren't any of the girls wrestlers? They're lady wrestlers.
I'm not sure if they... Yeah, I'm not sure, but I don't think they were, no. I think they were more
They just married wrestlers.
married to them.
Good heavens.
There were some great female wrestlers growing up for me. Trish Stratus.
Trish? Sorry, was that? Say it again?
Trish Stratus. Just tunneling, Matt.
Trish.
It's the only I can think of.
Trish. Right. So you can think of one. You can think of one.
Stacey Keebler.
I remember
Oh, the
Stacey.
Keeb.
Were there twins?
Ooh.
There's bound to have been twins at some point.
Yeah, they were called the Dudley Boys, and they were 2 men.
No, I feel like I,
But
did,
definitely,
Dudley Boys.
and they were definitely not twins.
I remember like identical twins, women wrestlers. Anyway, do go on.
China.
China. All right,
China.
Trump.
She died, sadly.
Oh.
I love China. The wrestler.
He was
We're
referring to
talking
the
about
wrestler. The country, never heard of it. She was billed as the 9th wonder of the world.
Excuse me?
China.
China.
I
Like the whole
love
country.
the stuff that they were the billed as, like the world's strongest man.
Oh, really?
This
Even
big dude called Mark Henry.
All right, that sounds like old. That stuff like that makes it sound like an old circus thing,
Yeah,
which is
it's
probably
like a
what
strong
it
man.
used to be, kind of.
Yeah, so they still have that sort of factor in it.
Anyway, so this family of 12, all wrestlers,
Yes,
all
and
married to
it
wrestlers.
sounds like they it was his mum was in the documentary, and she was just like
A wrestler.
not into wrestling.
Oh, really?
Oh,
She
her
was
whole
just
life
like
would be
she goes, oh, I remember asking Stu how long is this whole wrestling thing gonna go, and he was like 2 years, and it's still going, and she was just like, she was broken. Oh man,
Oh, wow.
it really just looked like she was like, I can't wait for this to be over.
That's tragic.
That sucks.
But yeah, so it sounds like I mean, this is one little grab out of context potentially. Maybe she bloody
Sure.
loves it.
Probably.
Sounds like it was a pretty eccentric family to grow up in. His dad had regular visits from aspiring young wrestlers, and then he'd take them down into
He'd
his...
take him down to teach him a lesson.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he'd take him down to the basement to teach him a lesson in wrestling. They called the basement the dungeon, and
Oh, no, I don't like that.
and Bret and his family from upstairs could hear through like some cracks in the floor or whatever, they could hear just these young guys just screaming
Oh my!
for hours on end. When Stu would just be teaching
They weren't
them.
wrestling.
It sounds like the wife was not afraid of wrestling, but of something else.
Oh my god! It did. There was something like that. It did sound a bit weird, but then so apparently he was just they went down in the documentary and showed him doing it more recently, or in the 90s when the documentary was made, and he'd just take these guys and just hold them in these finishing moves, and they're just screaming in agony. He's like, yeah, and then you can even take the arm a bit further around like this, and they're just like, ah! or a bit even further. And he's this old guy who can't, like, you know those old guys who are basically walking where their torso's on a right angle from their legs? You know, they're facing basically directly at the ground as they walk along. So this old guy, but he's still like bringing the pain for the...
Like he's dropped his wedding ring.
Yeah, and he just...
Where is it? Somewhere around here?
Yeah. That's how it... Yeah, it was... He was an old dude.
But
like,
he was still hurting young children.
He was hurting... Well, I'm saying young children, but they would have been like...
In their 20s.
You know, early 20s or whatever. And then...
They probably have Mr. on their credit cards, though.
Bret,
Yeah, they fucking do.
Bret was like... My mate Bret was like, yeah... He used to hear the screams, be like, oh, bloody hell. And then eventually he got older and he went down and he'd watch them train and stuff and sort of getting into it. But he didn't have...
I would have so many questions.
He didn't have great dreams.
Like, why? That'd be my main one.
Well, I guess it's you're just learning it. They wanted to do it because Stu also ran a big wrestling company in West Canada, probably the biggest wrestling company in West Canada,
Right,
called
so-
Stampede Wrestling.
So hanging out with him was a way in.
Yeah, that's right. So he was, I guess he's almost like trialing him, training him. It was a training studio, but I guess...
But they're hoping that he'll be like, hey, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
Do you want to do a match?
Yeah, totally.
Do a match.
I want
It's
to
been a while since I've watched it, guys.
Do a match.
I challenge you to do a match against me, the big man.
Maybe Matt could be like the match, like a matchstick or something.
Oh, Matt
The
the Match
matchstick,
Stewart.
Yeah.
Snap him like a matchstick.
Flaming redhead.
There was a
Oh, see, that works.
one of the biggest wrestlers. Oh god, wrestling people are gonna hate me for this. Of recent times, is this massive Irish dude whose skin is so white you can nearly see through him. He's nearly got He's like got red hair, but his skin is sort of, very very pale as you can get.
Mm-hmm.
And he's one of the most popular in the world. You could be that guy.
Oh, I could be that guy.
Wow.
I can't remember. I don't know his name, but yeah, he's very very popular. Or was a couple of years ago.
But all that Dave remembers of him is that he's pale.
Because
And you
Pale
could be
Irish
that guy.
Because he was the most amazing looking dude. Like,
there we go. That's better.
Never seen a man that. Because as a pale man, you don't get many pale heroes,
Totally.
especially muscular ones. And
I
I was
get
looking
it.
at this guy going, that could be me.
That could
I'm that
be.
white, nearly.
You are that white.
Thank
Hey,
you.
good for you.
Hey.
So that's my hero, that unnamed
There
Irish man.
goes my hero.
There he is.
So Bret started to train. He wasn't right in the idea. His dad wanted him to go into amateur wrestling, like real wrestling. You know, the stuff
Sure.
the Olympics and stuff where they actually...
They actually wrestle.
Yeah.
What, Greco-Roman, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Greco-Roman. And he wasn't really into it. He did it for a little while, but he wasn't loving it. And he saw a way out by... He didn't want to break his dad's heart, is one of the things that I read. So he ended up going in to work for his dad's Stampede Wrestling Company.
Okay.
Sort of saying that he'll go help out with that. And he started refereeing a bit. Apparently the family home also kept a bear on their property.
Oh, for fuck's sake. What?
Hang on, what? Sorry.
And apparently, like, back then, you might wrestle bears a bit. As this is the 70s in Canada.
No, you don't wrestle your pet bear.
And Hitman said, I saw him talking about it, how he used to get the bear to lick ice cream off his toes.
That seems like a really bad idea.
Which is an interesting...
I'll be honest.
Why would you put ice cream on your toes?
Everything about it is a bit odd, but...
Cool you down.
Cool down your toes.
Cool down your toes. When I was a kid playing basketball in
balmy
summer,
Canada.
when mum, and it was hot in the stadium, they'd give us like ice packs to cool us down while you're sitting on it, and you put them on your wrists or on the back of your neck. It's like cools you down really fast.
Seems like a weird way to attract bears.
Or your toes.
Hear that,
The three main places to cool you down fast: toes, wrists, back and neck.
What if you've only got two?
Inner elbow.
And
What's the inner elbow called? Is that just your elbow?
yeah, I reckon inner elbow
Is
works.
this space just your elbow?
It's the anti-elbow.
There it is. I knew you'd know.
Technical term. I've just looked up this wrestler.
Yes.
I want to show you him.
Please.
And you'll love his name, Jess, as a big fan of Irish names.
Oh.
Seamus.
Fuck
He's
yes.
just Seamus.
Fuck yes.
Just Seamus.
He's
Isn't he just awesome?
awesome.
You really
We
don't
will
see
tweet.
pale guys who are buff like that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
why I was so impressed.
and
I
he's,
sort of
he's quite good looking.
saw it on TV and I was like, I
wonder why
they're
that
always
is.
like dweebs, but this guy's huge.
Yeah.
But is it like once you get muscly, people just like
Get a tan.
bronze themselves up as well? You're just used to seeing guys like that who just lots of orange tans and stuff.
But that's kind of the key to WWF, WWE wrestling is you get a thing that people
Get an
remember you
angle,
for.
yeah.
So he's like, well, there's no other big buff white dudes.
Does he still
Check
get
me
all
out.
oiled up? You know, for wrestling.
And he just covers himself in talcum powder.
He pales himself down.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So Stu, being this successful wrestling promoter, old man Stu Hart, he actually started Stampede Wrestling in 1948.
Whoa.
And it was quite a big... back in the 70s, that's how it was. It was lots of little companies spread across Canada and the US. So Bret was... I said Bret like a... You know, weird. Didn't put you guys off. It made me feel weird. So Bret was around wrestling his whole life. And then... and then in 76, he started refereeing matches for a while. But in 1978... he performed for the first time in a Stampede event, filling in for a wrestler who was a late withdrawal. So he just had to step up at the last minute. And from there, he became a regular at Stampede events, going on to win many of the titles there.
Unfortunately, the person who pulled out was a bear, so he had to...
His character was a bear.
He was a bear.
He was in a bear costume.
And he celebrated by licking ice cream off the opponent's foot.
That's what bears like to do, as far as I understand it.
That's the bear that he knows.
Yeah. All bears are like this. They're
I love
always
it.
out there.
He's like, Dad, I don't know what to do. Just impersonate a bear, Brett. All right. He just starts
Dad.
licking ice creams.
That a boy.
Yeah, so early days he was known as Bret the Bear Hart. Oh.
Oh.
But yeah, it's funny because I was reading and it's like in the articles they talk about all these titles that he's won. And I'm like, oh, wow, cool. And then I'm like, oh, but that's all scripted.
Yeah, how do you win a title?
So it's like, and his
I've never
dad
really-
runs
actually,
the company.
I never really thought about that. Yeah, so then
So it's
they're
like-
like 19-time
It's like,
WCW
It
champion.
doesn't mean anything.
I mean, 19 times the plot said you were
Yeah.
going to get this certificate.
If we lived in the fictional world that they exist, then you'd be like, oh, that's incredible. But
Yeah, wow.
You guys don't know this, but I've actually been crowning myself the DGO undisputed world champion every week for the last 71 weeks.
wow.
Yeah, I'd pick that, yeah.
So that's actually...
I'd probably give him that as well. To be honest, wouldn't you?
Nah, I give it to Jess's laugh.
Oh, yeah, that's
Yeah.
that's the
I've
real
said
winner.
that multiple times on the record.
That's the number one contender.
Yeah.
Have you? I've written this as a question, but Dave clearly knows it. But you've heard of the WWF?
Yes.
Jess? World Wrestling
The
Federation,
World Wildlife Fund.
Yeah.
which is it now? Now it's known as WWE because of some legal action with the
With the World Wildlife
World
Fund.
Wildlife Fund in 2002, something like that.
Yeah, because I watched it as it changed.
Right.
WWE.
So it changed to World Wrestling Entertainment.
Oh, I see. Yeah, I was going to ask what the E stood for, but you were one step ahead.
What would you have guessed?
Enterprise.
Yeah.
Experience.
You'd think something like that, right? Enterprise.
Explorapedia, which was a educational computer game I had.
World Wrestling Explorapedia.
It was great. That's why I learnt about the Mississippi River and had a song went MISSISSIPPI. And then
I've heard a different song which I think is much catchier.
MISSISSIPPI.
I hate that. That's
What's that
MISSISSIPPI.
No, I hate
Yeah,
that.
Because
That's
there's
don't know
three doubles.
yeah. Well, I remember mine my way.
Well, all I have to say to you is
What is that
a
from?
bomb in a ball snowman.
Yeah, very good.
You are very good at remembering.
Is that MISS?
No, I just feel
I
like
reckon
it's
it's
thing
from My Girl or something like that. So it's from some sort of kids movie from the 90s, I reckon.
Right. I just sort of something I know somehow.
So the WWF/WWE is owned and run by a guy named
Vince McMahon.
McMahon.
Great name.
And at the time, it was one of the largest professional wrestling promotions in America.
Did his
And
dad start it though?
His dad did start it. His dad started it and then died like a couple of years later, and he sort of inherited it from it.
And now he is, and they always plug this because he often wrestles himself, even though now he's in his 60s, possibly 70s.
I think maybe, definitely 70s, I'd say.
They he was probably in the 60s, but I watched him 15 years ago. And they always said the billionaire Vince McMahon because he's a billionaire and they would always that was his credit.
But he didn't start as a
Wow.
wrestler, right? I'm pretty sure in this world he was more of an announcer. He was sort of like quietly the owner, but his face, like public face in the whole enterprise, was as a ringside announcer.
Right.
So he'd like commentate and announce and stuff. And then I think based on this story, he started to become one of the bad guys of the company. I think I may be wrong, but
Because he always played a bad character, like I'm the bad boss.
yeah, but
And he would
that
wrestle-
didn't
and he's
happen really until
Big muscular dude.
later on. He was still kind of fairly quiet.
Wow.
Or at this stage, he hasn't really started playing that character, which is
Cool.
apparently referred to as the Mr. McMahon character, the bad boss, Mr. McMahon.
As opposed to his credit card, which said Master McMahon.
Yeah, it's a fictional portrayal. So he was expanding and he was buying up a lot of these little franchises, these little promotions around America, and now he's going through Canada and buying them as well. And up until this point, there was sort of like a code between all the groups. You wouldn't steal wrestlers from each other. You wouldn't affect the ones bordering you. And it was like this system that worked. They were all just existed alongside each other. And he came in sort of from outside of that and just started buying them out.
Oh, wow.
He was just buying them and collecting them, taking the stars, and their territories basically.
Wow.
And eventually, spreading right across North America.
Which is what we're doing with the podcast, really.
Yeah, we're buying out other
Very
podcasts.
similar. We've put in an offer for Filthy Casuals,
Yeah.
and we're waiting to hear back. But it was a pretty tidy sum.
I think so. I think they'll say yes.
Actually, I meant to tell you guys the other day, I made an offer for, my dad wrote a porno.
Oh, great! What did you?
I offered him $50, so we'll just see.
Australian?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
No, that's good. Don't go in too hard.
No.
Yeah.
But so I think
don't give them more than they were. So what did you give them $1 per million downloads that they've had?
Yeah.
Is that how you work that out?
Yeah.
I think that's a fair amount.
Hey.
Here's a number. Let's see what you think of this.
So
Just slide it
just
across.
so you know, that's.
I would love to be in a deal meeting one day where they slide an offer over to me. And you're like, oh my God, it's happening. Flip it over.
0.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's the best.
I've thought about your offer.
I think this is fair. I think this is you'll find this to be a fair amount.
But still, to be in that situation
Oh.
where someone's...
Just to be in a boardroom, I think would be fun,
Oh,
wouldn't it?
it would be.
I hope we're in a boardroom together one day. I hope we all experience that envelope sliding thing together.
Oh, it's a matter of time.
And I'll open it with my mouth.
You're ripping it open?
Mm-hmm.
Or like very delicately like,
And they're going, that's not.
It's like it's not
We're-
even an
we're
envelope,
in-
it's just a piece of paper.
We're reneging.
I'm trying to open a blank A4 sheet with my mouth.
Oh, he's
Don't worry,
chewed
guys,
up.
I got
we
this.
We can't make up the number. We can't make it out now.
So we assume it's $1 million and we agree.
And they're like, interesting power move by Dave Warnocky there. Never seen this done.
He ate our proposal.
Quickly, double the offer. Double the
He's
offer.
eating that too.
God, he's good.
Before Sony makes a bigger offer.
Sonia.
I meant to say Sony.
Oh, did you?
No, I meant to say... I was saying Sonia because I don't want to be sued by the real Sony.
Ah.
Smart. Jeez, he's wily.
Mm-hmm.
I meant to say sorry.
Your
He
favourite
did
other
say
brands?
quite funny.
Panasonica, Universal.
Nestle.
I'm pretty sure that in America they call it that.
Oh.
They called it Nestles in Australia in my parents' generation, I believe.
So when did
Nestles.
it change to Nestle?
But I'm trying to get a
I think it
bad boy
was
French image.
when we got more worldly.
Like
I think
Yoplait? It's French for
When
young.
we started hearing
back
about all
in
the...
in the 60s and 70s,
It was a different
they didn't
time.
know that there was such thing as a way to pronounce LE like lay.
Oh.
They didn't even know. It hadn't been invented.
Nestle.
No one had heard...
Nestle. Pronounce it as you see it.
You know
For
what?
quite a while,
you gotta
they
respect
said
that.
it was like they had like, the unpronounceable word. And then eventually they built up to the stage where they could say Nestle. Because actually, is that how you spell Nestle?
Yes.
All right.
I have no idea.
I get
Probably.
it. I think I get it now.
Do you get it?
I'm going to bail on making fun of old people. Because I think I
You
just...
are one.
Yeah, because you are the oldest
'Cause I
person
am
in
in
the world. In the world.
So in 1984, WWF...
You were alive then.
Yeah, I was, yes.
We weren't.
They brought out Stampede Wrestling, including many of its star performers, including the one and only Bret Hart.
Oh.
So they paid his dad off.
Yeah, they bought it out from his dad, and his dad closed down Stampede.
Wow.
It got later on. It got reinvigorated, and some.
It had a V.
It had a V. Jeez, we're dropping some brands today. Jess, interestingly, when I said 1984, you said you were born then, when normally you would say,
I'm not your monkey, Matt.
that's right, you'd normally say, I'm not your monkey, Matt. Initially,
Interesting when you said 1984, Matt, when usually you would say 1884. Interesting.
Interesting. We're all learning, aren't we?
We've all got our catchphrases. Mine is
Woo!
and Sonia.
Initially, Hart was asked to perform as a cowboy character.
I love it. Yes. Yeehaw!
I would love to be the guy that looks at people and goes, you're the cowboy.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Cast us.
Well, because interestingly...
Oh, okay.
Okay, sorry.
No.
Sorry to interrupt with the report.
Leprechaun.
Matt, you're the leprechaun.
Yes.
Jess, you're the leprechaun's friend.
Yes!
We're a duo.
Hooray! We get to do offensively bad Irish accents.
Speaking of offensively,
sure.
I'm the fencer.
Oh.
I come out fencing.
Okay.
And for some reason, I'm
Building
not.
fences.
I like that.
Yeah, I come out building a fence, dressed
What's
in
a,
a fencing outfit.
What's a...
Which is the outfit a person building a fence would wear.
Good for you.
This character is infallible.
Anyway, now that we've cast ourselves, sorry, do go on.
So Calgary is famous for its Stampede, which I guess is why they called the wrestling thing Stampede, which is a big
And also 'cause his name
cowboy
was
sort of festival.
Stampede.
Stampede. Yeah, that's the thing. You probably can't hear me pronouncing it that way, but he called his thing Stampede. Even though I clearly said his name was Stu, but...
This entire time I thought his name was Stan.
Stupid.
Stupid.
Stupid
You're
everywhere.
Stupid.
He peed everywhere.
He's stupid, eh?
So, I don't actually know the Calgary Stampede. Can you tell
Oh,
us?
it's a really big festival. It's like,
Calgary
you know,
Stupid.
like
His name was Stan.
like horse riding stuff and like bucking broncos, I guess, and it's sort of like line dancing. It's, you know, a big cowboy
It
art
sounds
and
like
culture festival.
It sounds like I want to be a part of it.
It's on my bucket list. I want to go there for sure one day.
So is it massive? Like people
It's
go
huge,
all over
apparently.
So the
Really
biggest
big.
one in Canada, you'd say?
I think it's one of the really big festivals, yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
But for like sort of that country style,
I love it.
Billy Ray
country
Cyrus.
music as well.
Headline.
Let's all go.
I'm in for sure.
Do we have any listeners in Calgary?
It's also the city that
Never sleeps.
The Windy City.
It's also the
Big
city
Apple.
that the Winter Olympics was held in when the Jamaican bobsled team.
Oh.
That is cool. I would love to pay my respects
Yeah.
to Cool Runnings.
John Candy.
John Candy,
Rest in peace.
I can pay my respects to Cool Runnings.
Great film. The film that was played on many primary school bus trips.
Oh, big time.
So they asked him to play the cowboy character, but he came from Calgary and he wasn't a cowboy. He said, if you call yourself a cowboy where I come from, you'd better be one.
Wow.
He's sort of saying, like, I'm not doing
He's
it.
like,
'cause
I'm a method
not,
wrestler.
I can't fake.
All of this is real to me.
Yeah.
I couldn't possibly pretend.
I'm willing to play a wrestling character.
Yeah. I'll play a hitman.
But I shan't play a cowboy.
Back where I'm from, if you're a hitman, if you say you're a hitman, no one cares.
But if you say you're a cowboy and you're not a cowboy, heads will roll.
Yeah, the cowboys will turn into hitmen
Yeah.
and take you out.
It's a very confusing system, but it works. We somehow make
So
it
no
work.
to the cowboy.
No to the cowboy. Instead, he decided to join
Maybe he just didn't want to wear the arseless chaps.
Yeah, I think they drew the line at the arseless chaps.
Interesting.
Back where I come from, if you wear arseless chaps, you better wear arseless chaps.
If you are an arseless chaps,
You better fucking wear them. All the
waste
time.
not, want not. So instead, he decided to join Jimmy Hart's heel stable. Now, Dave, explain what a heel stable is.
Okay. So, well, heel in wrestling is the bad guys.
Yes.
Oh.
The good guys usually referred to as face.
Short for baby face, apparently. I learned.
Is that where it comes from? I
That's
don't
not-
know
yeah.
that.
Face and heel.
So
Yeah.
heel's the baddies.
Interesting. I wonder why.
Yeah, why? What do you know? Why heel? Is it?
I'm
foot?
actually not
Someone
sure.
yeah.
But
Someone will
he's
tell us.
he's in a heel gang.
So he's joined, and it was interesting. Like the guy's surname was the same as his, but
Yeah.
no
Oh, so that
relation.
wasn't
No relation.
too many
at all.
hearts
They were
wrestling.
from different
Aw.
places.
That would be a really nice country song.
Too many hearts were wrestling that day.
In the documentary I watched, there was a guy who was a big heel at the time, and he was he's like, you know, that's just the role. You know, you're the pantomime bad guy. He didn't put in those words, but you're the guy that you're meant to be hated. And he's like,
It's
when I'm
chaos.
out there and they're booing, to me I'm hearing cheers
That's
because
doing your job.
I'm doing my job. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like some actors that are just so good at being bad guys, like Alan
Kevin
Rickman,
Spacey.
Kevin Spacey. or the great Dennis Hopper.
Greg Kinnear.
They get, it becomes your thing. And
Matt, you're kind of the heel of our podcast.
Yeah.
you're the bad boy.
Yeah, and that's why you can fuck off. Thank you.
Matt, you're typecasting yourself with that anger and aggression.
Yes.
But I didn't realize there was like a heel stable, so he's joined a bunch of other
Yeah, it's
baddies.
I guess they're the bad guy crew. I think if you think about it, some of the teams when you used to watch it would have been overall good guys, popular heroes, and other teams of the bad guy team.
Yeah, totally. And over years that change.
Yeah, that's right.
They
Yeah,
have
talk about that a
storylines
bit.
and they become.
Yeah, which I
And they
found
do the
fascinating.
weirdest thing
as well.
where they like wrestle under one name, go away for like maybe 6 months, and come back, new character, no one's questioning it.
That's weird.
Yeah, that's weird.
I didn't know about that.
Yeah.
Can you think of any examples? I know actually The Rock.
Well, he
Was
was the Rock, and then
Rocky-
he was the Tooth Fairy.
And then he was the Scorpion King.
So he's
He's
played,
played quite a few characters, and then he's the guy from Fast and the Furious.
And then he was in Bridge to Terabithia. I think. Is that the one he's in?
He's in a lot of movies.
No, I don't think that's the one he's in.
I think he's from the Christopher Walken school of saying yes to whatever people ask you to do.
Say yes like Christopher Walken.
Yes.
Nailed it.
Yes.
Why, yes, I will.
Okay, Dolly Parton. Yes.
Yes.
That was Christopher Walken impersonating Dolly Parton.
Having a good time. What were we talking about?
I don't know, wrestling.
Oh yeah, so The Rock. So I read that when you're doing these reports and you go, I was reading about The Rock for a good half an hour before I'm like, he's got nothing to do with this fucking story. Go back to the
Hey,
report.
it's paying off. He came up.
So he started out. I can't think of his full name, but it was Rocky something, and his name was a split between his dad and his granddad's wrestling names.
Right, because he's like, they always
It was
build him
billed
as the
first
third.
third generation wrestler,
Oh, that's cool.
and his nickname early was Blue Chipper.
Oh,
He was
don't
a
like
blue
that.
chip wrestler, the Blue Chipper.
Wow.
No, I don't enjoy that at all.
And the crowds just didn't get into him. He was meant to be a face, but they didn't really get into him. And then he really got popular when he sort of reinvented himself as The Rock.
When he was The Rock, he was the most popular wrestler.
The people's
Probably
people's
of all
elbow or
time.
something? No, the people's shoulder?
The people's elbow.
Yeah. Inside or
He-
outside? It was outside of the elbow.
weenus.
Unbelievably popular.
Yeah.
And people say that, yeah, anywhere you go.
I quite like him.
I think he's
Like,
great.
he's
I'm in him
funny.
as well.
He's
so
a cool
good.
guy.
I
Doesn't
follow
take
him on
himself-
Instagram.
Doesn't take
Yeah.
himself a long-
Oh, you must.
I think he's got like 50 million followers, something
No, but yeah,
crazy.
Because
He's
he posts
funny.
good content. He's a great content creator.
I
This episode brought to you by The Rock.
hate everything you just said. And I also,
That's the point of it.
But I
'cause
love your smug little face when you just said it.
there's something so fun to talk about content. Like you're
Content.
talking about it seriously. But I joke about it so much that it's becoming a habit. Oh, it's good content.
Oh, it's great. I love it though.
Yeah, it's
But
good.
we message each other that a lot.
Oh,
this
great
is-
content.
Ah, some good content here.
Yeah, you give my tweet some sweet burns. Oh, great content.
Great content.
Hey, Dave, do you know the thing that is a rule in wrestling? It's a word, and it means we basically don't acknowledge that it's fake. Have you heard of that?
Oh,
It came up a few times, but I was just wondering. It's called Kayfabe or something like that.
yes.
Kayfabe.
yes.
Which is a really weird word. I'm not sure what its history is. It's an interesting word, but it means like publicly, even though everyone knows it's fake.
You don't drop the story.
Yeah, you never drop character. You never drop the story, and that is like the number one rule of
Wow.
professional
And sometimes
wrestling.
they get pissed off at their performers because they're seen like hanging out in real life with their enemy or
Yeah, you're sort of dropping it.
personal stuff.
You gotta live
stuff
it.
going- Yeah,
That's a bit rough.
it's a bit rough, but at the same time,
But I
sometimes
guess-
the bad guys. Like I remember when I was in grade 5, I lined up for about 3 hours at a Maya with my dad to get a piece of paper signed by this like classically bad wrestler called Kane. And at the time he wore this big red mask, and his nickname was the Big Red Machine because they built him as 6'11",
Wow,
and he
that's
looked
tall.
that big to me because I was
And-
11.
and remain. That's your measurement, 11 inches.
Yeah, 11 inches in
Aw,
height.
Oh, I'm talking about your dick.
But he was so
Matthew.
so nice.
Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Even though he was so. That's one thing that they
also,
break the thing.
so sweet of your dad to line up
Oh,
with you.
my dad, because he loved wrestling growing up.
Oh, really?
Yes, and he sort of got me into it. I had a toy
Oh, that's
of this
sweet.
like 80s wrestler called Hillbilly Jim.
such a funny.
who would come out wearing like blue overalls and a farmer's hat.
Very good.
Because
That was the
it
thing.
used to be more like it was like even more like clowny, theatery sort of stuff.
Yeah, like the bad
Cartoony.
guys were really bad.
Yeah.
Really bad.
Like, you knew you
and they
didn't
were
have
all-
to you didn't have to guess which is a heel and which is a
Yeah,
face.
and they were like villains, but for those sort of super villains for the sake of being a villain. Like, there's no, it
Yeah.
doesn't help them at all. It's just, I like doing bad stuff.
Yeah, and everyone's like, woo!
Like, that's awesome. And then the hero comes out and takes him out. Yeah, so my dad really got me into it. And when I was, the next year in grade 6, I went to see the wrestling at Rod Laver Arena when it came out. Hulk Hogan was there.
No. How exciting.
So cool.
What year would this have been?
2002.
Right. And what was it was WWE?
Yeah, so it just become WWE maybe
I
a
reckon
year
it was
so before.
2002 maybe was the year that it
Yeah,
happened.
WWE,
Yeah.
and I saw Hulk Hogan, Brock Lesnar, who's now a big UFC fighter.
Oh, so which is like as real as
What's
fighting
the-
gets.
Yeah.
Was The Rock? No, I don't think The Rock
That's
was there. I think
awesome.
Triple H, who's one of the other big guys, was there. Yeah, when I was growing up, the 3 biggest people were Triple H, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That's cool.
That's
great.
316 or how do
Yeah.
how do you say that out loud?
Austin 316, just like a biblical.
Because there was a character he had a big speech against. This is another thing I just read it when I was getting sidetracked. Whereas it was like a Bible bashing character, like some
who's
sort of
playing this?
born again Christian or something like that.
Right.
Another wrestler, and he said something like, he's going, well, you can thump your Bible as much as you like. You can tell me about John 3:16. Well, here's Stone Cold Steve Austin 3:16. Suck my dick or something like that. Like it was. I can't. I'm definitely
He was
paraphrasing there, but
he was such a badass. His thing was he'd say, "You're only as old as the woman you feel,"
as the dick you suck.
and
I was thinking the same thing.
his big thing was he would win, and then he'd stand on the turnbuckle, and then someone
Suck a dick.
from the crowd would throw him
A dick?
2 cans of Budweiser.
Sure.
He'd shake him up, crack him, and then smash him into each other, and then pour him and drink him, and he was,
Get a little bit in his mouth,
Yeah, he had
but mainly just make a mess.
Mainly just waste. Oh, seriously, just smash, and then they'd throw 2 more beers, and he'd do it again. Oh, I thought it was so cool.
Did you?
Stickiness.
Totally.
Stickiness is so cool.
It's so strange.
I thought it was so cool.
But did you know that it was all bullshit? Or did you
Yeah.
sort of... Because it's about suspending your disbelief, right? You go,
Totally, yeah.
I'm in the bubble now, and I just sort of believe it.
And I would be pissed off when
watching a drama on TV.
Yeah,
and being
exactly. When you're
affected by
watching
it.
that, you're watching a TV show. You know that they're millionaire actors.
Yeah.
What?
Pardon?
Orange is the New Black is not
Yeah.
a documentary?
Hang on.
No, I'm so sorry.
When I'm
Jess.
watching that doco Seinfeld from the 90s, it ran for 9
What's
years.
the deal with cell phones?
What was that?
Kramer! Kramer!
So we're talking about how your heels could turn into faces and faces into heels.
Oh.
They call that a turn.
Interesting.
That's wrestling parlance.
Parlance.
Turn. Parlance.
I like that a lot.
So yeah, they Hart turned into a face. He had a face turn, they call it. He turned into a face in 1988.
Jess does this all the time. You
Yeah.
turn on people all the
I turn
time.
constantly.
You
You
go
must
from
have-
heel to face, heel to face.
Heel toe, heel toe.
Heel toe.
Step
I'm all
together,
about-
step together.
I'm all about it.
First position.
So yeah, so after about 4 years in the WWF, he became a face,
Oh.
a hero character.
So he was bad. So before, do you know what his bad name was?
I think it was just I think it was just billed as himself. I didn't read
Because some of them are just, like
Just
their names.
names.
Yeah,
Like
I
the
think,
guy I was talking about before, Brock Lesnar. This is his name.
Yeah.
I think he was still as himself. I don't think he become the Hitman as yet, but he was just
Cool.
just a bad guy in the bad guy crew. So yeah, his catchphrase I said before: "I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the
The
best,
best
there
there ever will be.
ever will be." His signature finishing move, Dave, do you know this?
No, maybe I'll.
It was the sharpshooter. It was a version of the Sasori Gatame move popularized by Japanese wrestler Riki Chosu. Or Raiki Chosu. Other wrestlers have used similar moves, named things like the Scorpion Deathlock, the Boston Crab, the Cloverleaf Leg Lace,
I like that.
and the Standing Reverse figure 4 leg lock.
Oh, that's all.
And they're all basically the same thing, but
It's so good,
when
'cause
you've got a signature move, you got to give it your own name.
And the thing for me is I don't know how they get the name out there. I think maybe the commentators just say it. Like
That's just in the script,
like
I guess.
the People's Elbow.
Yeah.
Oh, The Rock had so many sweet moves. The People's Elbow. I don't know if you I will see a YouTube
Did he
video
used
of
to,
it.
did he used to
hold
point
it
at his-
up and-
yeah.
They'd be on the ground. He would do this dance, essentially, from one side of the ring, bouncing off the ropes to the other,
Oh, yeah.
pointing to his elbow, like going to the crowd, what? And then he would just like drop his elbow, miss their face, of course. And then that would be like, there's no chance of coming back from that.
It's so funny because it's like, if you're meant to think it's real, then you're either thinking, geez, he better hurry up and do it. This
Yeah, the
guy
guy's
could
gonna
get
get
up at
up.
any... Or you're thinking, nah, he doesn't need to hurry up because that guy's out cold and he's now going to go smash his face with his elbow. Either of those scenarios are fucked.
Yeah.
Just in case this guy's brain damage wasn't already taking effect.
Yeah, so I do love that there's all those names. That's all a big part
What
of the
would
fun.
you call your signature move?
I'd call mine the reverse People's Elbow, and I'd rub the inside of my elbow on their head. Cop that, dickhead!
I like it.
That's not bad. What would you have, Jess?
The old razzle dazzle.
The razzle dazzle.
Oh,
No, the old razzle dazzle. Yeah, I'll just do spirit fingers at him.
woo!
Um,
The Rock's other move was called the Rock Bottom.
Oh, that's. Did he
no
sit on
good.
them?
No. But there was this one guy when
That
I was
makes
growing
sense.
up called Rikishi, who was the size of a sumo wrestler.
What
And
did-
he would come out in a sumo style G-string, and his thing was he would sit on them and rub his ass in their face.
Oh, he'd sit
and
on their face.
they'd go like, no, an ass in my face.
Yeah,
no,
fair
no."
enough. Nobody wants.
That's
What?
really
Don't do that.
strange.
Don't do that. Yuck.
I'm loving reliving these guys. I haven't thought about these people
Yeah,
in so
this
long.
is how I felt with Riverdance, and you just shat all over it.
No one's shitting on my dreams. It's awesome. Everyone's really keen to hear about what I like. I'm loving it. I love the support.
What about... maybe I'd do some version of the nipple cripple, but I'd
Oh,
call
yeah.
it something else.
I was gonna say titty twister. That's just a thing.
That's another thing.
What's another name for? There's no other name for nipples, is there? Or like.
What about the teat tweak?
Oh, that's
Teat
pretty
tweak.
good.
I'll do, the teat tweak. Tweet.
Because often they would do things like, even though in real life, if someone started doing this to them, you just hit them in the head and get out of it. Like there are stuff like you grab their nipple and they're just like,
Right.
it's in indescribable pain. Oh my God, he's touching my nipple. Even though I could just knee him in the balls or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Never
like both
do
of my hands are free to defend
That's funny.
myself.
Yeah, they get them in those moves like they've got them by the nose or something, and they're going, waving their arms
can't do
around
it.
like, what can I do? No, he's got me. What am I gonna do? And then they'll
I
come
like
back.
that you even did a nasally voice there.
Yeah.
God, you're a method actor.
I'm all the way in. Can't improv, but bloody hell, I can act.
I've always said that about you.
Just
Matt
fe-
Stewart, my
feed me
friend,
my
the
lines.
actor.
Give him a good script.
Yeah, he'll give you a good bloody performance.
As the 90s war on Hart was becoming one of the superstars of the WWF, he was collecting belts up the wazoo. Like Vince McMahon, who I guess is, and his, the people below him who write the scripts, they saw him as the person that should be dragging them along to the next generation, I guess. There was somewhere because there was all these controversies about steroids around that time. Some theories are that they sort of tapped this guy Hart because he wasn't oversized. He was like realistically built,
Right, so he's muscular, but
but not like
he
this
could
guy's
be
clearly
your
so,
dad.
So they thought, and he had kids too.
You've
he
not
was
met
a
my
dad.
dad.
All right.
My dad.
Way more roidy.
Yeah, my dad's real roided up.
Right, he's huge.
My dad's shredded.
Fuck.
Yeah, it's intimidating. He can't feed himself because his arms
His
are
arms
too
are too
big.
big.
So we have to feed him. We take turns going in the aeroplane. Ooh, where's the food, Johnny?
He's just like, just put it in my fucking mouth.
Yeah, he hates it. But hey, that's the choice he made.
And at the same time as Hart sort of building up his big bag of belts, WWF's major competitor, the WCW, or the
World Championship Wrestling.
was becoming increasingly popular, even getting the stage where it was starting to eclipse WWF in the ratings.
Right.
On June the 17th, 1996, WCW Monday Nitro won the battle of the Monday night ratings against WWF, which was the big battleground.
Monday
they went
night.
head to head, two of their big shows up against each other. So it was sort of seen as a real key battlefield between the two competitions. And after it won it this night in June '96, it went on to win Monday night ratings for the next 84 weeks in a row. That's WCW.
Yeah.
That is over a year.
So they started dominating.
I can confirm we have taken a 5-minute break, we've consulted calendars, and that is over a year.
Thank you. Hey, Dave, I know you're kind of the numbers guy here, but you got some competition, mate. Catching up.
Calendars
Catching
guy.
up.
You trying to take me on
Last week-
Monday night rating style?
No.
Last week I told you that somebody was 20 years after they were born. I told you that.
She
Numbers.
told you that.
Don't tell me that.
Born in 1922. You mentioned 1942. I was like, 20 years old.
Like, it was like that.
Like, no, I didn't even have to
Blimey.
think about it.
It was like that.
I was like, I'm starting to just like see numbers.
It's a lucky guess.
Yeah, when she's looking at him, she just...
It's like she's starting to recognize numerals.
yeah. She's really coming along.
Yeah, wow.
You guys must be so proud.
I'm very proud. According to the Bleacher Report, which is an American sports website, the WCW's success during this period was due to them beating WWF to the punch on knowing what the audience wanted to see, which seems like a key thing. And what the audience wanted to see was something that felt real. That's what it wrote. It was like,
Oh.
not was real,
Felt real.
Felt
felt
it.
real.
Like
So-
our friendship. Sounds
not-
real
yeah.
to them.
God, it's staged.
It's not.
We do not talk outside of here, but we keep up the kayfabe on Twitter.
yeah.
We do.
Not on the show, apparently, for some reason, right now. Why are you breaking the kayfabe there, babe?
Oh, shit. Hang on. Kayfabe babe.
Kayfabe babe.
That's what they say to each other. Dude, kayfabe babe.
Kayfabe babe. Nah,
Hashtag,
kayfabe babe.
hashtag kayfabe babe.
Kayfabe babe.
According to the Bleacher Report, up until that point, professional wrestling had spent much of the late 80s and early 90s in a comfortable zone of family-friendly programming that had a certain stench of cheesiness to it.
Like this guy called Hillbilly Jim.
Yeah, I guess so.
Stench of cheesiness.
Cartoon-like characters, over-the-top acting, and repeated enhancement matches featuring the big star versus the no-name. Have you heard of this?
No, what would they
That's
do?
so funny. So they'd take a big name, put them up against a no-name, and the big name would just start like getting their signature move popular with the crowds and stuff. So they just do it over and over again, beating these no-name.
But they could do that against other famous people because it's all scripted, man.
But then the point was that then they'd build up the big name even bigger, get his move big, and then they'd get him up against another big name and make it a pay-per-view.
Um,
So just kind of. But I think people were getting a bit
What?
over that.
They're pretty bored of seeing me fight The Rock.
And then go.
I would never get bored of that.
Oh,
That would be
him doing the
best.
people's elbow on me like 5 times.
I'd just watch my friend die.
How much fun!
So fun.
I'd be so scared.
He would miss-
His biceps are thicker than my stomach.
He'd miss you with the people's elbow though.
He's trained on doing it to like other
You
6'4".
just go under his legs.
You'd be an easier target to miss, I imagine, wouldn't you? The smaller you are, the easier you are to miss.
Surely.
Totally.
That makes sense.
So WCW changed a lot of this, all this cheesiness supposedly. They were backed by the uber rich Ted Turner,
Oh, CNN.
CNN, yeah.
Rich from Uber before it was a thing. That's interesting.
Did not take off. He lost
Interesting.
billions.
Wow.
He started poaching WWF stars as well. The biggest.
What, taking them out with sniper rifles?
Yep, like a
No,
hitman.
poaching them
On
like
safari?
Yeah.
No, putting them in a boiling whirlpool of water.
His trick was vinegar. The
Works every time.
The biggest star that WWF had created up to that point was Hulk Hogan, and he was brought over to WCW by Turner on the big cash. Business was getting pretty hard for McMahon and the WWF brand,
Shit.
and he needed to change. He'd be beaten by Turner's WCW. Fuck. This was his moment.
It's now or never, Vincey. Or should I say, Mr. McMahon?
Not yet. No, he's still
Sorry, still Master McMahon.
Still master. As the Monday Night Ratings war continued, the WWF transformed itself from the more cartoony, family-friendly product to become more adult-aimed. This
It
time,
became boxing
It became porn.
mixed with boxing. They
Oh.
secretly filmed people having intercourse, and then Mike Tyson would turn up and just start punching them.
It's also fun. Do you think it's funny hearing Dave say intercourse? I don't know how I feel about that. Say it again.
I just can't.
No, I don't want you to either.
yeah,
That was weird.
it made me go to another place in my mind. Place I wasn't sure if I wanted to be. I'll get back to you. Still deciding. Yeah, I don't want to be there. So this time in WWF's history has become known as the Attitude Era.
Oh. So what year is this?
This is mid-90s.
Right.
Yeah, that was our
96.
attitude era too.
Fuck yeah, I was rocking it.
The
I had a
Attitude...
mohawk and a leather jacket.
Wow.
Ooh, in grade 3.
Yeah.
No, even younger. Grade 1.
Ooh.
So the Attitude Era saw a more violent style come in, a more violent style of
Yeah.
wrestling.
That's terrible for my generation.
And it also led to more politically incorrect characters and storylines being created for their
Great.
shock value.
Great.
Became a bit of a, just trying to...
Do you have examples?
Anti-feminist man.
I believe there were some,
Back
pretty...
in the kitchen, toots.
Yeah. Women don't tell me what to do.
I tell them what to do. I also want to point out we're both shimmying as
No,
we say
like,
this line.
Check out my pecs.
They're not boobs like a lady has. Yuck.
Yuck. But I still like boobs. I objectify women all the time. Let me hear you say objectify.
There was a lot more objectifying of women. They started
Oh, totally.
really sexualizing the female wrestlers.
The women I remember growing up, most of them did have large fake breasts that were often on display.
And they were not wearing much. They were never wearing
But
very
I mean,
much
I
clothing.
guess the guys weren't wearing a lot either. So I was thinking
It's
about it.
different.
It is different. It is different, and so it should
It's
be.
okay if they don't wear much. We
Yeah.
can objectify men. You just can't do it to us.
No, but I mean, I don't know if that's... Yeah, that's a confusing thing, right? Because it's sort of like, it is okay. It's totally acceptable for a man to go around topless and not be sexualized. So it's a confusing
That
thing.
always, actually, the only time that annoys me is when it's a really hot day and I'm out for a run and dudes are running with no shirt and I'm like, fuck, I want to do that.
Oh, whenever I
Just do it, Jess. This is the future. Well, the future starts
Nah.
now.
when I see a man running without his shirt off, without his shirt off, I get annoyed and I say, "Take
Take
it
it
off!
off.
Take it off! It's
Take it off,
hot."
you prude.
No, when I see
Get it off now!
get it off, get it off, get it off.
Dave chanting out his car window.
Woo! Take
Get
it
it
off,
off.
big boy! Yeah! Now, when I see a man with his shirt off, especially when it's not that hot, I'm just like, go fuck yourself.
If
It pisses me
he's-
off so
If
bad.
he's left the house with no shirt on, I'm like, come on, mate. But sometimes if they got it like tucked into their shorts or they're holding their top, I'm like, that's fine.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I don't really care. It's fine.
Keep the fucking shirt on.
I agree because a lot of the time it's like a tiny singlet that they've taken off, and I'm like, I don't think you're making much of a difference.
Another thing I hate, singlets.
Why? What do you want them to run in? A fucking wetsuit?
Yes, please. Imagine that. With flippers.
Jess really surprised herself with that suggestion. She's like, what's the opposite of a singlet? Let's see how big I can go. Oh my goodness. I went big.
Oh, I've bought it out of the bag here.
This would be a ridiculous thing to run in. Picture it.
Perkins. Oh, what do you want them to run in? A bloody astronaut suit?
Yes, whilst wearing flippers.
Perkins.
So this change led to a big surge in the popularity of pro wrestling in general, but WWF sort of saw a resurgence as well. And this new era brought several wrestlers to stardom, including the anti-hero Stone Cold Steve Austin,
Oh, what a guy.
The Rock,
Oh,
Mankind.
yes, Mick Foley. He's also
Mick Foley, I
Oh,
remember-
he's
I know that name.
a lot of characters.
Right, because I remember seeing Mankind, because I reckon it was on TV for a while in the mid-late 90s maybe, on free-to-air in Australia, maybe Channel 9 or something, and I vaguely remember seeing Mankind, but I can't remember
So
much
he'd
more.
wear a mask.
Yeah, like this weird sort of, it's almost like a horror mask,
And he was like kind of...
like a horror mask.
and
you
he
know?
was like fucked up. Like he would talk to a sock.
Oh, yes!
He'd talk to a sock and he would like do these crazy matches. I think Mick Foley, the guy, is actually a little crazy himself because he would do these crazy long matches and they would do like steel cage matches with weapons and stuff. And he would actually have his head cut open and stuff.
Oh.
And there's
He's just very good at what he does.
He's a method wrestler.
one time he jumps off the top of this steel cage thing and he actually knocks himself out.
Oh.
You can see video of it on YouTube. Yeah, so he was obviously a fan favorite because he was
Well, man.
actually looked like he was doing
Wow.
bad stuff to his body.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and that's what
that's
they want.
so
They
fun
want
to
You want to
watch.
believe, I guess. that
Yeah,
it's
because
real.
but as a fan of wrestling, the realer it seems, the more you can convince yourself it's real, I guess.
Yeah, but I don't want to see people get hurt.
That's the same with. That's why I don't really like watching boxing or UFC because you're actually seeing people
Yeah.
like
Beat the shit out of each other.
really hurt each other. I don't really like that.
No.
You guys are soft.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like to watch kittens.
But my favorite thing about
Boxing.
Kittens boxing is the best thing ever.
But I love that UFC wrestler Conor McGregor,
Mm.
UFC fighter, I should say, because he's like a wrestler because he has crazy attitude,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and that's part of his brand. Like he's done it wrestling style.
That's smart because he's sort of done it.
Yeah, and
I
now
hadn't
he's
thought about it like that, but
way
he's-
richer than the other guy. Like that. When
You
he
got to
won,
be really good as well, though.
he won 2 belts. First guy to win 2 belts over 2 weight divisions, his own division and the one above him. He challenged the guy and beat him.
That's pretty great.
And then he's like, I've been talking a lot of shit about people, and I just want to say, I'd like to apologize to absolutely nobody. Oh, crowd goes wild. That's such a wrestling thing.
Yeah, that's true.
that is classic.
And like he shoots videos of himself driving like sports cars and driving private planes and stuff. It's all part of the image.
Yeah, it's smart. And that's your brand. You
Totally.
make yourself richer by... It's a weird system, but
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it?
people love that.
But I appreciate it.
People love a bit of arrogance sometimes.
That's what we do.
If you already like them a bit,
And also,
it seems to make them love them.
also the fact that he actually backs it up every time.
That helps as well.
We need to talk about our social media content then.
Content, yeah.
What we need to do is film us on private planes driving Lamborghinis,
On the plane.
apologizing to no. Yes, Lamborghinis on a plane, and then people will give more to our Patreon, even though because we look like we don't need it.
Oh,
Do you
I
understand
see.
that? So
Yeah,
we don't
yeah.
need your money. Don't,
Right now, we
don't
could
chip in.
really use it. We
Yeah.
could really use your money
Well,
right
that's
now.
what we're pretending.
Yeah, pretending.
Wait, what? Are we? Oh,
That's the characters
which
we're
thing
playing.
we're
We should go
playing?
from face, poor people, to heel, rich people. That we don't need your money. We don't need your Patreon.
And then they'll give us money.
Exactly.
And then we can eat.
The Hitman didn't like the new direction WWF was
One
going,
Direction?
the sexy new One Direction, because he was a wholesome guy, and he, sure pretended to bash people for a living, but he didn't appreciate the
Yeah.
sexy, violent,
Yeah, come on.
un-PC
Heart by name.
bashing
Heart by nature.
over the people. At WrestleMania, at this time, there were also people he started really disliking, other wrestlers that were coming up in popularity, like this one guy, Shawn Michaels, if you remember.
Oh, yeah, HBK, the Heartbreak Kid, who he bills himself as that, right? Look him up. He's like the most average-looking dude with a ponytail in his mid-40s,
no,
and he's still
no.
like... And his song, he comes out to a song that's like, I think I'm sexy. And then women would cheer him on. And that was his image, even though he was...
It's so funny that you
Definitely-
can create even beyond
Yeah,
thing
beyond
because
reality.
you can fake things like I'm a bad guy even though you're like behind the scenes you're like a nice guy. But you can't come out and pretend that you're good looking, or apparently you can.
Yeah, and he was like shorter than all the others, not as muscular.
But he was a heel, and but people said was like the ladies were into him, I guess. But
Heartbreak
Yeah.
Kid's a good name.
But he
though.
was
Heartbreak
also he was also a real showman, and he was kind of everything that the Hitman hated about wrestling's new direction, supposedly. Or at least, but supposedly not only his character hated it. Apparently, in real life, they were also feuding, sort of in character and out of
Right, so
character.
kayfabe was really confusing off the seat.
Yeah, that's right. What are you?
Hang on, are
Is
you
this-
actually pissed off at me?
Very confusing.
That Facebook message you sent to me, was that real?
Which pissed off?
Because no one can see that.
Is this the pissed off you are about the wrestling stuff, or the stuff about me owing you that cash?
Yeah. Because I can't tell.
Tell me which one, and I'll.
Sean? Heartbreak Kid?
Sean, hello.
Unless Sean,
I always dislike Shawn Michaels.
you disliked him or liked him?
I did not like him at all.
Right.
Heartbreak Kid, though. I'm a fan of that.
Yeah, so I suppose at 12, I'm not getting the possible irony of him not being that attractive.
Yeah.
I was just a bit like, who's this dude with a ponytail that all the women care about? I care about the cool, muscly dudes that like beat each other up heaps.
Also, Stone Cold Steve Austin. There was a bit of feuding between him. I think that was more
Him and...
in the world. Him and the Hitman.
Oh, right, cool.
At WrestleMania 13, Hart faced off against Stone Cold. in a submission match, which, Dave, you can explain maybe?
Oh, I think it's
It just keeps going till there's a submission?
keep going till someone taps out.
Oh.
So rather than usually the winner is like a fall, which you pin them to the ground for 3 seconds.
Oh, yeah.
That means you're
One,
two,
three taps,
ding, ding,
you're
ding,
out,
ding,
yeah.
ding. But like this one, it's like, I've got you in an arm hold and I'm going to break your arm. And then eventually, after about 15 minutes, genuinely, that would, if they're the main match, he would have been in the position and he'd be crawling. Because if you grab the rope and you have to let him go.
Right.
And then you'd bring him back off the rope and you'd do it and they'd crawl around and they'd nearly and they've tapped 15 minutes later.
Right, just really drawing
It goes
out.
so long.
Sounds great. Great to watch.
Ugh.
Any Irish dancing around? Because
Yeah, that'd be more interesting.
Oh, God.
this is a little bit of movement.
A little bit more,
Yeah, 300 steps per second.
a bit more emotion in it.
So in this submission match, Austin suffered a cut to his face. Can't fake that, Jess. It's real blood.
Stop yelling at me.
And it was bleeding.
We're just trying to make you hate it, Jess. We're trying to get you to be a heel, but you're like, I just don't care.
Yeah, because I'm not a monster who shits on other people's loves. Okay, I'll hate it. I'll hate it if you like.
Fine, pill on my chest.
If that'll make you happy.
Fine, is that what you want? All right, I'm taking my shirt
never-
off.
I don't.
I've never
it
brought
off.
that up.
don't wanna
Take
poo
it
on
off.
you. I'm not going to poo on you.
First you shit on my dreams, and you pooed on my chest.
I've done neither of those
That's the
things.
two things we'll remember from this episode, Jess Perkins. Ms. Perkins.
Oh,
Dave, she doesn't want to do it.
I don't want to poo on you.
You keep coming up with these weird
Too late.
scenarios.
It's too late. The shirt is off.
He does have his shirt off.
I'm lying on the floor with the mic.
Put it back on.
I'm ready for my destiny.
Well, I am not ready.
That's weird because you asked for it. Off mic, perhaps. Maybe Matt's done some fancy editing where he took out the phrase, I'd like to shit on your chest, Dave.
This is taking a real weird turn.
Please do go on.
So Steve Austin is bleeding quite a lot out of his
That's
face.
right. That's what we're up to.
And Hart got him in his signature finishing move, Jess, which you'll recall is the...
Whoopsie daisy.
Oh, it's got him in the little whoopsie
The backwards whoopsie daisy.
The backwards Cincinnati whoopsie-daisy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Cincinnati
Cincinnati
whoopsie
whoopsie-daisy.
daisy.
Is it the sharpshooter?
The sharpshooter. But
Oh.
Austin refused to tap out. Eventually, and it was like you were saying, would refuse to tap out. And then eventually he passed out from blood loss. Which is what they say. And I can't, like the whole time reading this, I'm like, I have no idea where the truth
There'd have to be a
starts on
lot of
fiction.
blood everywhere
Yeah, it
for him
feels-
to...
You'd have to lose like a litre,
That's
right?
a lot of blood.
Feels like that's part of the script,
And
right?
also, like, a tiny cut on your head will bleed a lot. Like
But not
head
like a
wounds-
litre.
No, I don't know, but
That's
but
thin,
like,
or is it...
good point. I'm not
You just
entirely
have-
sure why,
well,
but I
it's
just
just
know that head wounds will always bleed a lot. It
Well,
always
it's
looks
because-
a lot worse than it is.
Because a lot of blood's got to go to your brain, so
Yeah.
there's lots of shit around there.
So, like, a little cut will just pour blood, but it's tiny and nothing.
Right.
But it's just, yeah.
Yeah, so we'll assume that that's bullshit anyway. So in the story, and I get this might have even been part of it, but at this period, anyway, I'll get to that later. I just had
The sizzle.
too many thoughts in a row.
Sounds like someone's getting excited by wrestling.
He refused to tap out.
I hate it.
You know, I pretty much always get excited about the topic I get into.
Yeah,
When
it's
I
great.
read this much about anything and I watch documentaries and stuff,
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm in.
Yeah.
So he refused to tap out, eventually passed out, which meant Hart is awarded the win. But despite this, he
Hang
didn't-
on. That's not a submission. That's a pass out.
Yeah, that's interesting. If it's submissions, I guess it's submissions or pass outs. But he refused to let go of the hold even after the match was over.
Even though Stone Cold's passed out.
He's passed out.
And he's like holding a man.
In the Cincinnati
that's
whoopsie-daisy.
limp.
I'm not sure if it was this match or another one, and he even like he was just playing real dirty, and he kicked him when he was down.
Oh.
I'm not sure if that was this one or a different one, but basically
So
this match.
is he hurting him for real?
I don't know.
Okay.
Parfait. I don't talk about it because of the parfait rule. At WrestleMania 13 is... I'm trying to think what that word... Kayfabe.
Parfait.
Parfait is a dessert.
Everybody loves parfaits. Parfaits are delicious.
Shrek. We get that Shrek episode happening one day.
I like that boulder. That is a nice boulder.
Still got it. So that was WrestleMania 13. So that in that match, Stone Cold Steve Austin went from heel to face.
No.
The Hitman Hart went from face to heel. They switched.
No.
It was like it was a very rare occurrence of a double turn.
Oh, that is
What
so
a
hot.
rare occurrence. I would have loved to have witnessed that occurrence.
Would you? Because I too would have loved to have seen that occurrence.
It's just so rare to see a double turn. It's just not something that occurs.
I cannot remember the last time that occurred.
Is that
Can you?
Canadian? That sounds Canadian.
I don't know what it is.
So Hart was now a
What a
villain.
historical occurrence.
Let's mark this day. The day of this occurrence. The day it all occurred.
Wait, sorry, you guys saying I said occurrence funny.
No, you're fine.
I legit
Sorry, I
didn't even hear you say it, but I'm just repeating her impression of you.
No, I said it weird. I thought
You
I'd
thought you got
fought
away
John, and
Do you think you got away with it?
I thought I was going to get
I
away
don't
with
think
it.
anyone noticed.
Because the funny thing is, if I do stop and go back and repeat myself,
Yeah, we
Jess will
haven't.
be like, mate, no one cares. It's fine.
Sorry.
And this is the exact reason
yeah, that's
why,
right.
Jess.
Make me the bad guy.
You're the fucking
I'm
heel.
the heel.
You're the heel.
Okay. Well, lardy fucking da. It made me laugh.
Oh, now you want to shit on Matt's chest, huh?
Yeah, I'm gonna shit on both of your chests.
Oh, wait, what?
There you
I don't
heard
want
it.
this.
There you heard it. It's not about what we want, Matt.
What a strange thing for you to accuse me of, David. Good heavens, I'm a lady.
Well, you're only as old as the lady that shits on your chest.
And that is not a regular occurrence.
That would be true in your case, Dave. 'Cause you're the...
Yeah, because we're the same age.
So now,
By a couple of days. If anything, you'd age 2 days.
Hart
Take the risk.
is a villain, right? At least in the United States.
What do you mean?
So
His face!
in the United States, and he started because he's a dual citizen, but he's sort of Canadian born. He's got a Canadian accent. He started his character at least started bagging out America more and more. So he really embraced this heel
Right,
thing.
because Stone Cold is like all American
Yeah,
from the South.
Ah.
and there are other characters like
Other occurrences.
the Patriot. Maybe is that someone? Or is
No,
that
that's
I'm
a
thinking
Mel
of-
Gibson movie.
I'm thinking of the Mel Gibson movie. Didn't he go on a wrestle after that?
Is that a Mel Gibson movie? Is that
Heath
the
Ledger?
Patriot?
Is that Heath
Patriot,
Ledger?
yeah, Heath
No,
Ledger.
what's that?
And Mel
That is-
Gibson.
okay, great. So yeah, in one speech in an American, like most of the wrestling's in America, but some's in Canada, obviously. But one American match, this is in the documentary, he goes, "Canada is a country where we still take care of the sick and the old. We still have health care. We have gun control. Canada isn't riddled with racial prejudice. We don't go around shooting each other."
Whoa, a little too real there, mate.
Which was, that one, and the American crowd's like, whoa, boo.
But shootings are a regular occurrence.
Because
there, so.
he is saying, because he was, I don't know if you got the subtle point there, he was saying all those things are not true for America. And then another time at a match in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, we have listeners from Pennsylvania, including in Pittsburgh, go Penguins, as I always say. And then when he was in Pittsburgh, he said, and if you were going to give the United States an enema, you'd stick the hole right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Oh, wow.
Saying that like the asshole, I
So
guess.
he's a real bad guy now.
Brutal.
You'd stick the hole right here. I don't think that's how enemas work.
Yeah, you don't choose where the hole is.
But do you?
You'd say you'd stick the tube.
Yeah, I think that's what he meant.
Maybe they call
Tubes
holes
holes
in
Pittsburgh.
Canada. Oh, yeah, maybe he was talking the local lingo.
I don't think so.
So those sort of jabs are all part of his storyline.
Jabs.
And he has said later that he regretted the Pittsburgh line. He liked Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh. The American...
Go Penguins.
Go Penguins. Go Penguins. The American crowds increasingly turned on him. And I was kind of thinking, watching this documentary in particular, I was thinking, it's so funny how easily the wrestling crowds are manipulated like that. That's what I was thinking at first, when I'm like, sort of realizing that, the wrestlers are all acting and the crowd sort of are as well. They're just in on it. They're playing the game.
Yeah.
So they're not being manipulated. They know it's all bullshit, but they're still like, their role is to hate the heel and to love the hero. That's just how it goes. And I think in some instances it goes the other way. Like, they'll turn on a guy and I think like The Rock early on was meant to be a face. but he...
Just not buying it?
I think, they didn't get into him. Like, it doesn't necessarily work, but usually I think they get on board the one that's meant to be the hero and they are against the one that's a villain. I found that interesting because I reckon the first half of me sort of researching it, I'm going, wrestling fans, I don't get it. Like, how do you get so into it? How do you buy it? But then I think I read someone say about, what's the difference between movies? I'm like, oh.
Yeah, that's because I was
Good
thinking
point.
like Avengers movies.
Yeah, there's two sides. You hate the bad guys, you love the good guys.
I get so into it. I know it's all bullshit, but I love it.
Yeah.
It's the same sort of thing.
You're still thinking, fuck them up.
Yeah. Like, go Captain America.
Woo.
Yeah.
I like Captain America.
If I was going to put the anima, I'd put it right here. And
Captain America's shield.
I was going to put it in Ultron's butt.
That's better. That's better than the shield. Why would you put in the shield, Dave? He needs that. Can't put a hole in it.
Can't put a hole in that. It's made of pure, that special metal.
Yeah. The name of which I have forgotten.
Shieldanium?
Yep.
Metadium?
Unobtainium?
Unobtainable.
Yep, that's the one.
But he was still a huge star. I continued from halfway through a sentence. And due to this, he was offered huge money by Ted Turner to come across to WCW.
Ah.
At the same time, Vince McMahon didn't want him to go, so he offered him a contract for less money, but a much longer contract. I think around 20 years, like a long contract.
Okay, I'm going to give you a contract. It's less money, and it's less time, but I'd like you to stay.
But his thing was because...
There is literally no perks to this.
No perks.
There is no pro. There is only cons.
In the documentary,
What do you say? And then he slides it across the table. That's how you get him.
The slide. I couldn't say no.
Oh,
Slide
God,
it over
that's
to me.
how you
I'll say yes.
Yeah.
I'll say yes.
In the documentary, he was saying how, he felt like, they were fighting over him a bit, and it felt like he was the prettiest girl in the ball sort of thing. And he found the decision pretty hard, because, like, the money from WCW was big, but he saw McMahon as a father figure, and he felt really loyal to the WWF brand. I mean, his career was all based on McMahon, basically. He was the one that put him up there, made him, wrote him into winning titles and stuff. You can't do it without,
it being decided.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've got to play your part. You've got to be, you've got to play this role and the crowds have got to, react to you one way or another, I guess. But still, you need someone to be on your team who's writing the scripts. It was interesting. I was wondering about it. Like, what happens? Does it always go to script? And there was one fight, I think it was in London, where he was scripted to win the fight. Hitman was. Mm-hmm. And during it, he broke his sternum. So he had to lose the fight. Like, they had to,
get him out of there.
Change the script mid-thing, and he was out. So sometimes if there's a real injury, it might go the other way. But
how do you reckon they communicate that?
Yeah, there's got to be a
bit of a
code
signal,
word
it's not going well. This is not
a
joke.
He just showed his sternum. Oh. He pulled it out of his chest and goes, this is not meant to be out here.
Waving at the camera.
Yeah. No good. I need this bit inside of me again. Can we wrap this up? Yeah, I submit. I'm submitting.
I'm not enjoying that mental image.
What was I talking about? Oh yeah, so yeah, he's having to make a decision between WCW and WWF. But because he sees McMahon as somewhat of a father figure and also felt loyal to WWF, he accepted the long-term deal to stay.
Wow.
Basically meaning that because he was about 40 by this stage, I think. So he was sort of seeing him out, really.
He's got job security.
Yeah, totally.
And you know what? That's hard to come by. Mm-hmm. In the arts, which this is.
Totally is.
The big war with WCW, though, was taking its toll on WWF, the business. And despite fighting to keep Hart, McMahon eventually turned around and said to Hart that he probably should go and see if he can still get that big money deal that was offered by WCW.
What?
Yeah.
Hey, I've been thinking about it. It's pretty dumb if you don't say yes to that.
It was sort of that, as well as
Or did he not want him anymore?
He kind of didn't want him anymore. I think it made sense for him. Other people were coming up. It was almost like his storyline was almost playing out. Wow. Steve Austin was coming up now. The Rock. People were taking over as the number one guy anyway. And also, the long-term deal seemed bad because he was about to float on the market. Just physically float on and because when he was going public, long-term do you call them liabilities? What do you call long-term,
I guess so.
whatever they're called in accounting world, Jess? A bad news, apparently, unattractive for
Sure.
potential investors, some shit like that.
Right, because I imagine because it's pretty hard to get rid of them if it's not going well.
Yes.
Or you got to pay them out heaps.
Yeah, I
If
guess
you're
so.
like, hey, we don't need you anymore, but we've contracted you for 15 more years, so here is $1 million for each of those years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, ugh.
And we're not getting any work from you.
Yeah.
So there were those kind of reasons, and it made him, which would have felt a bit, you would have felt a bit hurt as Hart.
Oh, Bret the Hitman Hart.
Yeah, that's right. So he basically was forced out, right? But Hart was able to lock in that deal with WCW.
Oh, all right, this is good.
Ending his around
women's
14
chess.
years with the WWF.
Is this the screw job?
It's leading up to it.
Oh, I thought him being
The
screwed.
whole topic is the screw job,
Yeah,
and
really
we're not
should
even
get to it.
there.
I should get
I
to
thought
it.
him being screwed over by McMahon was going to be the screw job. Okay, yep.
Or
yep.
McMahon, we've called him.
It
several
is.
different
It is
versions.
definitely a part of it. So he's gone to WCW, but the deal didn't kick in immediately. So he had a few months left to run on his WWF contract, and between them, they had to figure out how his storyline would come to an end with the company. In the contract, though, Hart had a clause written into it that said that he would have some creative input to the storyline.
So what he did was a moving interpretive dance piece.
I'm moonwalking out of here. And I'm gone.
And he's shimmying.
Yeah, shimmying the whole way back.
The thing that complicated it was that he
Had no creativity.
was the
Yeah, he's like, I've got no ideas, but I'd like to have input.
he was the
Sequence, I don't know.
he was the champion at the time. So yeah, he was the holder of the belt.
All right, so you have to give it the belt and leave.
Yes, that's right. So
They're going to do a match where he says, if I get beaten, I'll walk, because he's so confident. And then he gets
That
beaten.
is a great idea. Do they do that? That sounds like it could definitely
Yeah, that would
actually
make
happen.
sense.
what did you say?
Oh, you're not fucking listening.
No, I'm trying to get to. What did you say, sorry?
I said that they'll do a match where he's really cocky leading up to it, and he says, like, well, if I lose this one, then I'm out.
Yeah, like I bet my career
Yeah,
on
but my
this
career on
belt.
it, and then he loses. He's like, well, I said I'd do it, and then he leaves.
Well, the tricky thing was because he was going to WCW anyway, and at first they
Well, so yeah, they can't kill him off.
they
but
They can't kill him.
they agreed to keep it a secret, but McMahon sort of reneged on that, and he went out and announced it because he was worried that WCW would break the story, I think. So he came out and did it first.
I said it first.
Yeah,
Yeah.
basically, he wanted to own the narrative, I guess.
We said go. He didn't. He didn't quit. Just saying it.
just saying.
End of press conference.
Hart was worried that if he went out a winner, he'd take the belt to like one of the WCW shows
Well, that
and,
can't
and
happen.
ridicule it and put it in the bin, piss on it or something, shit on it,
Take a
shit on Dave's chest, and
Jess
then
Perkins
rub it
style.
in the belt.
Yeah, rub it into the belt. So he's thus getting shit on his hand.
No, he just puts a glove on.
Yeah.
And the idea of that would be that that would be sort of like not good PR for WWF.
Oh, him shitting on a belt.
And wiping a poo-stained glove onto the belt.
To me, it would be
And
worse. That would
McMahon's
look
like-
worse for WCW.
And
but-
McMahon's like, I'll own it. I'll shit on the belt myself. I'll rub my poo-stained glove on it.
I'm not too proud.
But apparently, there was a genuine fear of McMahon. He didn't want that to happen.
Someone needed to
So
McMahon-splain to him.
So they basically needed to figure out a way for Hart to leave without the belt,
Just lose.
and that
Yeah.
Jess already wrote the story.
If you now say
Yeah,
what
well,
I
I
said
mean,
before,
quite clearly. I mean, are you thinking that maybe there's something more complicated than that, or?
Oh, no.
Well, the more complicated thing is that he doesn't want to. He doesn't want to go out a loser.
Well,
What
if
a
you're going
diva.
to take the $1 million contract, mate, you've got to take one for the team.
It's a tricky thing, right? So they had to figure out a way that would leave everyone happy because he had in his contract some creative control over
kill
the
him off
situation.
then. But he won the fight, but then he died.
There was a big event coming up in Montreal, Canada, called the Survivor Series. And the obvious plan would have been for Hart to just go down to the second banana of the WWF.
Number two banana. Number two banana. Number two banana. Number two banana.
So that the second banana would become the first banana.
Number one banana.
And the number one banana would become the number two banana and then leave.
That would have been straightforward if the second banana didn't happen to be Hart's biggest rival,
Heartbreak Kid.
Shawn Michaels.
Oh, fucking Shawn Michaels. Don't even get me started about that pretty boy, not pretty boy face.
That ugly pretty boy.
That ugly pretty boy with a ponytail.
He said to McMahon that asking him to lose to Shawn Michaels in his home country of Canada is basically asking him to blow his brains out in the ring.
Okay, bit dramatic.
A bit dramatic.
Bit dramatic.
A little dramatic.
Yeah.
And he's like, is that an option?
Yeah, can we do that?
Shawn Michaels does stuff with the Canadian flag around this period.
He
He's wiping
does
on his
stuff
ass.
with it.
He's like fake humping it.
He's
He's wiping his nose with it.
Oh, no.
Being very disrespectful
No,
to the flag.
no.
Of the maple leaf.
And the beautiful people of Canada are just standing back, not knowing what to do.
Because they're so lovely.
They're so beautiful.
They just be going,
A young
goodness.
Justin Trudeau is going, look,
Look, mate.
violence is not the answer. There's got to be another way.
He's right.
He's still right.
All the way up to the day of the match, they hadn't figured out how...
What, but they've built the match.
The match is built. They're going to wrestle. They just don't know how it's going to end.
Oh, fuck.
And the documentary crew who's been following him around is there on the day.
This is awesome. I can't believe I've never heard of this. Love wrestling. Never knew about this.
Don't love it that much then, do you?
McMahon
Obviously not.
said no cameras, so because he wanted to chat. Hart and McMahon were chatting before the thing. They had to figure out how it was going to go down, what was going to happen. And McMahon's like, no cameras. So Hart wears a wire. He's wearing a microphone, and the conversation is recorded. And it's basically Hart telling McMahon that he feels a bit hurt about how it's all playing out. That week was playing out. McMahon responds by blaming Ted Turner. He's like, he's the one getting in between us. It's not me. It's not your fault.
Vince
I
told him to
appreciate
go.
everything you've done.
Vince told him to go. So he gave Vince the option of staying. Vince fucked this up in my
Yeah,
opinion.
Vince fucked.
Yeah, he totally. But Vince is blaming Ted Turner for going so hard at his business that forcing his hand that he couldn't afford to.
Right.
I think he's
Keep
really.
all the superstars.
It's like, this guy's been better at business than me. It's his fault. Even though I don't fully buy that either. I feel like he kind of was like, really, you're not worth it for me to keep you now. I reckon he was kind of thinking it's better for you to have gone, maybe. But he was still very popular, especially outside of America,
Right. Where he's about to
where he's
wrestle.
still a face, and he's a hero in Canada and Europe. Apparently, they love him as well.
My dad and my mum watched it a little bit, I think. But my dad was, Bret the Hitman Hart. He was popular.
Yeah.
I imagine in Australia he was a hero.
Wow.
Yeah, I bet you was. In the conversation, Bret suggests that the match ends with something like a schmoz. Do you know what a schmoz is? It's a wrestling
No,
term.
but I love it.
It's so good, right? It's spelled SCHMOHZ, I think. Something like that. Schmoz.
Love it.
Is it Shimoz?
It could be schmoz. I've heard Americans pronounce it schmoz.
Like a schmozzle?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I would have almost pronounced it, but I heard them say schmoz.
And
that's where
American listeners are laughing at you right now.
Oh, nearly every word I say.
True.
But the...
I just
Maryland.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so someone tweeted and said I was saying Maryland wrong. It should be Maryland. Is that right?
I think so.
look at the word and say who's wrong.
And what was that other one? Some other guy wanted me to say their thing. What's their thing? Anyway,
Montana.
Montana. That's an
That's
easy
fine.
one.
Yeah, you got that one.
Montana.
I think they wanted you to say it like fashion.
Oh, Montana.
There we go.
That's good. No, it does feel better, actually.
Montana.
Montana. Sounds...
It gets me every time.
I want to go there.
Love it.
Montana.
Now.
All right, so we're in the office with Bret and Vince.
Yes, or even in the corridor. They're in the stadium, so it's almost showtime, you know.
Wow.
It's on the day of.
Fuck.
And
Well, they haven't worked it out.
Yeah.
And
Don't they have to have like rehearsals and stuff for the match?
it makes it seem like there's no rehearsals. They basically figure out.
The moves. I thought it was
I did
all
say basically. It's so weird. I'm falling apart.
the Higgs boson Lee figure it out.
So I think they sort of, it's more like Curb Your Enthusiasm. They know where they need to go, and then they figure it out a bit along the way.
Wow.
They've got key posts they have to hit. That's how I understand it. But I'm a guy who's been researching this topic for like a week, on and off. Not non-stop, to be honest. I got
Obviously.
a job.
No, you've got a life.
But I've been reading about it and watching stuff about it, and that's how I understand it. I may be way off. There may be rehearsals. I'm not sure. But they certainly didn't show any rehearsals in the documentaries I saw. So anyway, a schmoz is where the ring is swamped by wrestlers, which ends the match in like a draw, basically.
like a disqualification.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what Bret suggested. He's like, I won't win, but I don't lose. And then the following day, I'll make an announcement that I'm forfeiting my belt. So I don't take the belt. I don't lose. I don't win. It feels like a compromise. And
Vince is going to say no.
And that became the agreed plan.
Vince is going to say yes.
McMahon got on board.
I feel it.
He said yes.
Hang on, Matt. I feel like, Dave, back me up here. I feel like Vince is going to think this is a great plan. I feel like Vince is going to say, great, this is a plan, and then that's going to become their plan.
The plan. If Jess knows Vince, which she does.
Which I do. I shot on his chest that time.
Oh, yeah.
Look, I reckon you're someone on the ball in your weird way.
So let's just check. What did Vince say?
What happened?
Vince said yes.
I told you.
So that was the plan.
You literally just told us.
That was agreed upon plan. They had different ideas, and they didn't say exactly what the plan was to lead up to it, but the plan was that a schmoz was going to happen, which is so fun.
Plan A, schmoz.
Schmoz. Plan B, refer to plan A.
See plan A.
Doesn't it? It's a weird system.
But it
We're in a
works.
loop.
It just weirdly works. I don't know how, but it does.
It's like,
Hey,
the
the
schmoz
schmoz
hasn't
didn't
worked.
work.
Well, the schmoz will solve the schmoz.
Just get out of my head.
I won't.
I'm going to touch your knee.
How dare you? My special spot. So, in front of a packed out crowd, Hart is ready to take on his arch enemy, Shawn Michaels. Shawn Michaels is... Because I didn't even see him talked about as a Heartbreak Kid. It's funny that because he's normally... They talked about him as Shawn Michaels.
Maybe after this, in the early 2000s, he became the Heartbreak Kid. But when I was watching, he was one of the big guys.
He did have hearts on his tights.
Right, he was definitely...
So maybe he was.
On his tights.
Yeah, that's what they wear, isn't it?
Bloody hell.
So I don't have all the lingo.
No, they're called tights, sure.
I wasn't saying they're not called tights. I'm just saying it's funny that they're wearing tights.
Also, he spells Sean with a W, which never sat well.
Nah, no
He
good.
enters... so first in, Michaels comes out and he sings that song Dave was talking about, how I'm really cute, I'm real
I think
sexy.
I'm sexy. Oh, I'll post a link to it. It's hilarious.
And
I
then,
hate that a lot.
And then second to come out is Bret the Hitman Hart draped in the Canadian flag. Crowd goes wild. He's in his town, or he's in his country, and, they're right on board. Fight gets started. From what I saw, it's like almost boring. There's some... wrestling stuff. I don't think it's remembered as a great fight necessarily.
Right.
It's one of the most infamous fights, but it's not remembered as a great fight. Or this whole scenario anyway. I think they were basically following the script, right? Up until the point where Shawn Michaels has Bret the Hitman Hart in Bret Hart's signature move.
The Cincinnati Whoopsie-Daisy.
The Cincinnati Whoopsie-Day, AKO.
The Cincinnati Sharpshooter.
That's right. And at this point,
Whoopsie-Daisy benefit.
Yeah, me too.
At this point, the plan is for Hart sort of switches around, and then he's got Michaels in the sharpshooter.
Whoopsie-Daisy.
Sorry, the whoopsie-daisy. and at this point, but before he's able to switch it round, the ref says he's tapped out and calls off the fight. Calls Michaels the winner.
But did he tap?
Video is very clear. He did not tap.
Oh, no.
What? Does the ring announcer and everything go, and the winner is ding, ding, ding,
yeah.
by submission.
Vince McMahon's ringside, and he's saying, ring the fucking bell, and that's when they ring it.
You can hear him say that?
Yeah, supposedly. I didn't hear that part.
Wow.
It was a lot of commotion going on.
A locomotion?
Oh my god!
There was a low commotion going on.
And then what happens
A whole lot.
It was a locomotion.
It was a low commotion that night. A whole heap. It was real.
It's all a bit of a, to be honest, bit of a blur. The commotion started, a lot of commotion, and I hit the deck, and then I hit the hay.
Toot, toot.
Got 40 winks. Woke up. It was all over. Red Rover. Thank you. Good night.
You're not.
Thanks for coming. I'm Michael Caine.
Oh.
Michael Caine was there.
What a
He's big into wrestling.
That's how much of a commotion this was.
There's a locomotion.
Like how much? Like how much?
So on,
Sorry, I'm so keen on this. Back to the
I
story.
know,
please.
it's amazing.
So
what?
what happens in the ring? Like
so
he's-
in the
he-
ring, basically Michaels grabs the belt. He runs for the rooms. Canadian crowds, going apeshit.
crazy.
The look on Hitman Hart's face is like, he's like, WTF. His face is like, what the fuck just happened? Which is also what WTF stands for. I've said the same thing twice
Oh.
for emphasis.
So he looks genuinely shocked.
He's just like, wait, what the fuck? That's not how it was meant to go
Still
down.
again.
He's like, I was waiting for the schmoz.
Yeah.
Where's the schmoz?
Where's the
Where my
schmoz?
schmoz at?
This is plan C. We only talked about plan A and plan B.
And then Hart's like furious. He gets
Yeah.
up, he's on the ropes, he spots Vince McMahon, and he spits from inside the ring onto McMahon's face.
Oh, gross.
You're fucking kidding.
He just like with this furious look on his face, he just goes and just spits
And can you
on his
see it
face.
hit his
and you can
face?
see it at his face, and
Oh,
McMahon's like,
yuck.
and then he gets
That
out
is
of the ring,
incredible.
and he just starts smashing up the courtside
like
tables.
the ring announcer's table.
Ring of that, like their
Ringside.
equipment, just like there's electrical boxes. He's just smashing them on the ground. He
Because
goes,
usually, if that happens, I imagine they have it set up ready to smash. But he's actually smashed. Because a lot of people smash into that. It's like a very breakable table.
yeah, totally. But it's
is
just,
he act-
Oh, I
but
know
also
what you
the
mean, yeah.
equipment and all that.
But
sort of
he's
stuff.
actually breaking real stuff.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Then he gets back into the ring, and I'm like I say, I'm sort of dubious on everything. I don't fully believe anything, but this is all this is commonly believed to all be absolutely real.
Yep.
This is canon. All this.
Much like the suggester of this topic.
Gets back in the ring, and he starts doing a symbol with his finger, W, C, W,
Oh.
over and over again. Then where he's leaving to, he's like
What?
W,
C,
C, W.
And people are like, you're really fucking up the YMCA, mate. It is not how this goes.
And yeah, he was doing the C was backwards from our perspective, but
Is that
you know,
true?
yeah, I'm letting him have it. I mean, he's writing it for his own.
Was he really
perspective.
doing it backwards?
He was doing so from
Like
what
when
you
people
could.
fuck up the YMCA.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, it's the C. It's always the C because the M
Can't go wrong. Cannot go wrong.
can't go
It's
wrong.
just a C.
So and W, but
W, I reckon. I reckon that one's pretty ambidextrous.
anyway, I'm very keen. And then what's happening now?
So he went into this match thinking that they were all in it together. You know, they had a plan and they were all on the same page. And then he sort of that wasn't. It was a bloody screw job. It was a bloody screw job, baby.
In Montreal.
In Montreal, that's how it got its name.
So and then do you reckon Shawn Michaels just run off and he's probably left the building because
No, he's gone into the rooms.
I thought he would have like just got into a taxi or
bailed.
something.
He's
just
got
because-
into the rooms. The documentary shows. So obviously the ref was in on it. Apparently working under the instructions of McMahon.
only following orders.
Michaels. So they're Hitman Hart goes back in the rooms. Michaels is there and he goes, Did you know about this? And he said, no, man, I didn't know. And he tells it later, like, Michaels is just, like, weeping with tears, but I didn't see any of that. Just, like, really upset by it. Turns out later, I think and Michaels has said now that he knew about it. He was in
So
it.
he was in on Scumbag.
They were all,
That's
basically,
awful.
all in on it. The ref, McMahon, the guy who wrote the script. Like, I think
What a shit
that
feeling.
core team.
You think you know a guy.
So he's backstage, he's in the rooms, he's furious. He tries to get to McMahon, but McMahon locks himself in his office with his posse around him. He's trying to break down the door, he can't get in there. None of this is on camera. So the documentary team doesn't catch any
Probably
of this. This is
smart.
just from retelling later. And he's like, he gives up, he goes, hits the showers, he starts to cool down. But then McMahon sort of confronts him or he says he wants to see him. That's the message that gets passed along, and Hart goes, "You better tell him to get out of here for his own sake, right? I'm furious. Don't be around here." But he doesn't listen. He comes in and he's like,
Oh.
"Mate, if you don't fuck off, I'm gonna punch you in the face." And they've both got their posses around him, right? And this is how the Hitman Hart tells it. He's like, "I knew if I tried to take him on anyway, we'd get pulled apart instantly. So it was almost no point." He's like, I could maybe get one good shot in. And they think I'm going to go for a hook So I hit him with an uppercut and knocked him out cold.
Wow.
Is this true?
Apparently, yeah.
Oh, I thought you were about to say that he was like, I stepped away. He actually, so he stepped
Knocked
in and
him
punched
out,
him in the
yeah.
head.
Far
Uppercut.
out. Uppercut.
He said it like an uppercut, but he ended up with a black eye, which I don't know if that's how you get black eyes. Maybe, yeah. Maybe he
maybe.
grazed it and
Grace all the way up.
Who knows?
Oh, he got him.
bang, knocked him out.
Oh.
In the aftermath, that's what I know there was a long build up to get to that point, but it felt like I had to tell some story.
Oh,
Yeah,
of course,
yeah.
that was
to build
great.
You
Yeah.
needed to build up. But yeah, I found it a really interesting world. Just even the fact that all of this is made up is more interesting to me. But apparently this changed everything. From here on, WWF took off. The Hitman went over to WCW, but he was managed poorly. Hulk Hogan was still sort of first build, and he wasn't given enough limelight, I guess. He won some championships with them, but he ended up injuring himself like a couple of years into his contract, and he was retired by the year 2000. Around the same time that his brother died, I think he maybe was like, fuck this.
Right, yeah.
Shit. And not too long after that, they started making bad decisions in the WCW, and McMahon ended up buying him out. So,
Oh, wow.
so the WWF swallowed WCW. But apparently this was a real turning point. This was the start of McMahon being the super heel character of the whole wrestling
Wow.
universe.
So in the wrestling world, people knew that he'd been fucked over.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was really good for, like, it brought back, because there was a lot of sympathy for Hart. He was brought back to sort of heel, face status. I've probably been saying heel and face wrong the whole time.
I think you've been okay.
And so
It was
made
1892, though, wasn't it?
1892. That's right. So it was sort of good for his image. It made McMahon this super villain that was used ongoing, and then he started even getting involved in matches and stuff. I think what Dave was saying.
Yeah, for sure, he did wrestle.
Which is pretty funny.
That's crazy.
And he's a big muscly dude.
Yeah, right. And then
Nothing an uppercut can't handle.
Yeah, cop that.
it just led to a really popular era. And some people say that if it wasn't for this whole period, and especially this screw job, they reckon this has played a big part into it, wrestling being an ongoing viable,
Wow.
which is pretty amazing.
That is amazing.
Wow.
In the aftermath, the popular opinion is a little bit split as to who was in the right and who was in the wrong. Like some people say it's a little hazier than black and white. Like should Hart have just lost to Michaels? Maybe, is what some people say. He should have just, he's leaving. Just say you're gonna lose.
Yeah.
Do the thing that it's fine. It's weird that they couldn't have done it in a different city. Maybe done it in America somewhere.
Yeah, they had to do it in his home country.
But it made me wonder, and I don't. You guys know Cam Tyson?
Yes.
He's the biggest wrestling fan I know. Probably the only big wrestling fan I know. And I know this because he's doing a festival show at the comedy festival called WrestleBrania. It's like a panel show.
About wrestling.
Comedy panel show about wrestling, professional wrestling. So I texted him today, actually, and I said, oh, what do you think about it? And he said he thinks it's a little more complicated than a black and white thing. He said Vince was wrong to screw Bret. I love how he just has an opinion ready to go on this.
That's great.
Vince was wrong to screw Bret, but he did have to protect his brand and company image. Bret was wrong to stubbornly refuse to job to Shawn. Job is lingo for losing, being scripted to lose. So if you're apparently wrestlers who go around and their specialty is losing, they're called jobbers.
What a job. What a job.
Just doing a job. My job is just to go there and lose. But asking him to lay down in Canada is horrific.
Oh, Cam.
Shawn taking the title was the right call for the feud, but he had the ear of Vince and could have talked him into doing it differently. I just like this was nearly instant reply.
That's amazing. That is amazing.
Got it saved in his notes, ready to
He's
go.
ready. That's awesome.
I couldn't, but I just the whole way through, and even now, I feel pretty skeptical about it. It's such a perfect, dramatic finish to it all. He's down to the fact that he loses by his own move to his arch nemesis in front of the home crowd.
And that he spits on his face.
Yeah, and
what a shot. That's amazing.
And apparently it was kind of weird for Vince McMahon to even be there, side of stage.
Right. So
why was he there? Or what do you call it? Side of ring? Ringside.
You've also called him McMahon or McMahon. Like so many different times.
I think in Australia they say McMahon, but they definitely call him Vince McMahon.
How's it spelled?
McMahon.
MAHON?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be McMahon.
McMahon.
But they call him McMahon for sure.
That's why I'm getting confused, I guess.
Yeah.
I'm split. My dialects are split. So I looked up, I found this website that listed 10 reasons why they reckon that it was all planned. They call it, what do they call it? It's a
Rigididge.
There's a term for a thing that's meant to seem like it's breaking
Yeah, it's a rigididge.
the parfait, but it's not
Matthew,
actually.
it's a rigididge.
A rigididge, sorry.
Thank you.
It's called a worked something or something. Sorry, I can't think of the term. But anyway, a few that I found convincing of this website. One of them said there were so many guys that Vince McMahon could have already had in place as the WWF champion in advance of his departure. Like he had time to plan.
Yeah.
There's no reason why it would have had to have been this last minute thing that he was like, quick, we got to take it off him at the last minute, otherwise I'll take it with him. It's like, why didn't you just do that earlier?
Yeah,
then?
just take it off him a while ago.
Shawn Michaels could have done it earlier. Undertaker could have been champion. Stone Cold was ready for the belt, but McMahon chose to have the belt on Bret Hart despite knowing that he was off to WCW. It's all a bit unrealistic, according to this website. Another one they said everyone benefited from this story, right? Which is an interesting one. So after the screw job, business boomed. They blurred the lines between reality and gave fans a peek of the backstage conflicts. Fans loved it. They created this new type of fan that were called smart somethings, and they they loved the behind the scenes, like the tactics and the drama of it, and they're about the writing. I think Cam Tyson's probably one of these guys. Smart marks. So it's a whole new generation of fans, or a whole new type of
They're
fans.
all named Mark.
All named Mark, and they're all quite smart enough to know it's not real. So yeah, all these fans loved it. Everyone else did well out of it as well. Vince McMahon became the massive heel.
He became a billionaire.
He became a superstar villain, basically, which is like a really handy thing for his company to have, and he's fully in control of himself as well. So if you want to be able to control your talent, being the talent helps. Bret Hart became the most sympathetic babyface in wrestling, and he got heaps of cash to go to WCW, so he wins. Shawn Michaels got the championship. Steve Austin now had the creative space to exist as the number one face in the WWF. He said it just worked a little too well for everyone.
And then it became a great podcast topic.
Everyone wins.
Convenient.
Also, it's another reason was that there were too many conflicting accounts of how it all happened, right? So all these people have owned up to it, they're like, yeah, this is how it happened. This guy came up with the idea. But nearly everyone said a different person came up with the idea.
Also convenient.
Yeah,
to muddy the waters.
Either maybe the time had passed and they'd forgotten, or maybe they just couldn't remember the made-up story they had about this made-up story.
Oh, man, this is going to be D.B. Cooper. We'll find out when we die.
It's the kind of thing that only one of these guys would... Like, I imagine they'd have to come out and say it, but it's been such a good thing for all their careers. It's made them all legends, kind of. It's a legendary thing. Even though some of them were legendary bad because of it, it's still, like, hasn't hurt any of them. It's the thing that's still talked about. There's heaps of documentaries about it.
Right.
Wow.
So after all your research, Matt...
I asked Cam, because I think he's the expert, because I'm still leaning towards it's bullshit. I reckon it's all maybe part of the story.
You are pretty skeptical.
And it's genius. I love it if it's true. If it is made up and they've committed to it this long, I love it. I reckon it's so good.
Yeah,
it's great either way, but I love it if that's a thing that they came up with, that whole scenario, and just stuck with it. I reckon it's real sweet, real cool. So I asked Cam, almost finished with this. I got one fun fact to finish with. This is what he said when I said, is it bullshit? He said, it's true that the best wrestling storylines successfully blur fact and fiction, but Hart really did punch McMahon backstage, McMahon. He's historically a very prideful, read stubborn, man, and being asked to drop the title to Michaels in Canada was taken as a massive sign of disrespect. But Vince was shit scared of Hart walking out on the company with the belt and walking to WCW as the WWF champ. So the trigger was pulled. That's how he said.
Oh, Cam, that's beautiful.
Oh,
So
I would love to care enough about something to be somebody's go-to. For like, Jess will know about this.
You're the expert, right?
Fuck, that'd be great. I want to be an expert in something.
It's made me so keen to see their show, which is on
The same time as us.
same time, same venue. Oh, same time.
Yeah.
Oh, we clash.
Yeah, we clash.
Oh, fuck.
So I'm told.
So don't worry about going to their show.
Yeah, I think it'll be terrible. It's probably gonna be
I
great.
thought I was going to be able to see it.
I don't think you are. gonna be able to see
Motherfucker.
it. Unless we have to cancel one of our shows because we have nobody turn up. So we can only hope.
Maybe we could do a screw job.
Oh.
The MICF screw job.
As in drink cocktails.
Delightful.
Get too drunk and forget. All right, so I'm going to finish with this. Unless you go, did you guys want to say what you thought?
I think it really happened.
That
you
does
go.
seem like the popular opinion. I just think I'm just a generally
you're always skeptical.
Yeah, I know I'm an optimist.
Genuinely and generally.
Yeah.
I also think it happened.
Oh, that's cool. That's
From
great.
the way it sounds, it just sounded like he was fucked over.
Yeah.
Yeah, unlike it definitely is believable. Another thing is like the documentary crew happened to be there. He was wearing a wire and he wasn't more sus on
Right,
it.
but I suppose that he is one
But
of
why
the,
would you?
at the time, one of the most famous wrestlers in the world. So if you're going to make a doc on one of them,
Yeah.
it's probably him.
Yeah, totally. I mean,
couple
yeah.
others.
Yeah.
You definitely, that is believable. I know it's a lot, if that was all to build up to that moment, that they even had the documentary, that'd be pretty unbelievable. That means a whole another element had to be involved in it as well.
And more people. And
How many people do you have in on a sequel like that? Yeah, so I don't know. I'm still torn, but just part of me thinks that it's just a really well written chapter in the wrestling thing. But it's definitely made me more fascinated by it. Unfortunately, I'm in with knowledge of mid-90s wrestling, so I'd have no idea of any of the wrestlers.
most of them don't wrestle anymore.
John Cena is the only guy I've heard of that I think maybe still goes.
Yeah, he was big maybe 8 years ago type
Okay,
thing.
right.
But I still think
Right
he
up to
wrestles.
date.
Up with the times.
He does because he also appears in because WWE also make movies now, and he's in a bunch of
Like
those.
the Tooth Fairy.
I
That's a
don't
good
think
one.
so.
Nah, that's a good one.
They also started a new gridiron league called XFL, which lasted one season because it was very unpopular.
Was it scripted? Player passes
Catches
ball.
ball. All right, so we'll finish with a fun fact. Haven't done one for a while.
Yes.
Because we had
Fun fact.
someone
fun
tweeted
fact,
at us and
fun,
said,
Dave.
bring back the fun facts.
Fun
Was it
fact.
Dave?
Fun fact,
But if
thank
you only have one, it's a lot of
fact.
pressure on how much fun
Fun
this one
fact.
fact is.
Well, I'd forgotten about it, but Googling for it, it turns out that for some reason, well, for this reason, the Montreal Screwjob has been in the news this week.
Oh.
So I looked it up and there's so many stories about it.
Why?
And this is why. Adult film company Brazzers is producing a parody of WWE's infamous Montreal Screwjob featuring actress Mia Malkova as WWE Hall of Famer Shawn Michaels and Romy Rain as WWE Hall of Famer Bret Hart and Johnny Castle as Vince McMahon. Filming began this week, but there's no word yet on the when the movie will be released. It appears The Fuck Job is the name of the movie.
What? It's already called a porn title. Screwjob is a porn thing.
The Fuck Job.
I personally cannot wait for the release.
That is brilliant. So two female
Two female, yeah.
performers.
Two females
plus-
playing the men, and then a man playing the man, McMahon.
They couldn't suspend disbelief for a woman to play Mick.
Oh no,
Man.
'cause yeah,
That was fun. That's a really fun fact.
that's a fun fact.
Like,
But
the
I
fuck
think
job.
just because it was out this week, I don't think I would have even included it in the facts because everything's had a parody. It's just crazy that it was like a week and a half ago that was released as news.
That is a fun fact.
Led to some awkward moments on the train when I was watching the movie. For research, it's not out yet. That was a little. Sorry to use.
little joke.
What's the
there.
word for panache? No, what is it? What's the word
Why are
meaning?
you fucking up words so much today?
What's that word, Dave? About
Panache.
fungi.
What?
The word meaning not breaking the story.
Oh, you
Oh,
forget.
kayfabe.
Kayfabe.
What? You've called it so many different things.
I'm gonna settle on kayfabe.
Okay.
It's a good one.
Kayfabe, babe.
Kayfabe, babe. That's right.
Kayfabe, babe.
Hashtag.
Great hashtag and great episode, Matt. That was
Well done, Matt.
very long report, well researched, very cool story, and especially cool for me to relive some of those 90s, early 2000 wrestlers.
And cool for me to let you relive something that you really love
you.
and just enjoy your
Thank you.
enjoyment.
And it just
I
makes
mean, I didn't share the fun, but I let you enjoy yours.
It just makes me think about how good wrestling is and how bad, in comparison, some other things might be. For example, some sort of dancing near a river.
I don't know.
You're a real piece of work, Warnicky.
Yeah, you shit on my chest.
Love to re-thank Lee Hollod and Suave Gem for the suggestion.
Yeah, good job, guys.
And all our Patreon voters who voted for it. 100 voters we had this time.
Awesome.
That's great.
Voters, yeah.
Thank you for voting.
I think
People
that's
wanted this one. There you go.
Nearly everyone who was eligible to vote did.
So if you would like to be eligible to vote, of course, you can support the show by visiting patreon.com/dogoonpod. Every little bit, even if it's only a couple of bucks a month you can throw in, does help us. And if you throw in a couple of bucks a month, you can vote for Matt's topic next time, which will be coming up in just a couple of weeks. And there's other stuff like bonus episodes that you can get access to. And we're doing our show at the Melbourne Comedy Festival. If you support us on Patreon, you can get a free ticket. If you support us to, I think, $10 plus a month, we'll give you a free ticket if you are in town. But otherwise, if you want to come along, we are doing 4 shows. It is next month. It's April.
Yeah, it's soon.
4 Sundays.
We
would. Oh man, I would love, because we're going to put all our eggs in one basket here. We're doing 4 shows for the first ever time. We're hoping that people come along so we can do more live shows and come to more cities and not do that kind of stuff. So Melbourne, I've said it before, don't stuff this up for the rest of the country and the rest of the world.
This is on you, Melbourne.
Come on.
It's on you in surrounding areas. This is on you, Victoria.
That's right.
It's
Werribee.
not that far. Like if you live in, Bairnsdale. How far's Bairnsdale?
Bairnsdale, about 2 hours.
No, it's longer than that.
We're going to do a gig there. We
I
should
know.
plug it.
I looked it up.
Because
It's actually in a nearby town called Stratford.
Are we not doing Bairnsdale as well?
We're also doing Paynesville.
Paynesville.
And because we are doing Sunday afternoon shows,
You should come see me and Jess. Forget Dave. He's not even, we're not worried about him coming to this show.
Yeah,
can,
we are doing shows. Studios website for details.
That was the worst plug ever, guys.
Nah, nailed it.
It's going to be a really
Anyway,
great comedy night.
Back
sure.
to you plugging the live
I was
shows.
going to say that if you do actually want to come from, not interstate, maybe interstate, or from surrounding areas, it's on at 3:45 in the afternoon on Sunday, so you actually have time to get home afterwards.
Yeah. So no excuses, you fuckheads.
Yep,
Yes, Jess, stop telling it like it is, mate.
just turned on the ads. Turned on the ads there.
I know they are, but
Like it is. What a funny thing to say.
Put a plug in that truth cannon.
Oi, stop telling it like it is over there. That's enough telling it like it is.
enough truth.
Oof. We've had enough truth for today.
Well, we haven't had enough truth because we need to truthfully thank some Patreon supporters for pledging to the show. If you support us, we will thank you. We will get to you all. We're closing in, kind of. We are getting more support every week, so that's bloody fantastic. And we'd like to say thank you right now to some very, very special people. First person I'd like to thank, and the last person I'll thank personally, is I'd like to thank him for his pledge to Patreon, but also his pedge to Patreon, and that is the man, the myth, the legend, Brendan Pedge.
Very good.
Oh,
Very good.
that's
name
why
is
you'd like
Pedge.
to thank him for his
For his
pedge.
pedge.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
All right.
Thank you for your pedge. Jess, would you like to thank someone for their pedge?
I would like to thank somebody who gave us a topic a while ago, which I can't remember which topic it was, but I definitely remember the name of P. Basta. Mr. P. Basta.
Is that a pun on Mr. Bombastic?
Yes. That's what I was going
Mr. B. Buster.
Buster.
What's the next line after Mr.
Shug it.
Shug it.
Mr. Rovalova.
Mr. Rovalova. Anyway, thank you, P. Basta.
I'd like to thank P. Buster as well, and also Brendan Pedge.
For his pedge.
For his pedge. But also, if you don't mind, I'm going to change gears here for a second.
Interesting.
And thank
Oh, no.
Jared Gear.
Okay. There it is.
Change gears into Jared gear.
I'm going to
Oh,
change into him.
Dear.
Well, let me slip into another, something
gonna
more
go on
comfortable gear.
Dear me.
I'm going to go into a phone booth and put on my Jared gear, like Superman puts on his
No, we got it.
Superman gear.
Still a fucked thing to say.
I still don't get it.
How dare you?
Well, don't put Jared on. Don't wear him.
Oh, you want to put him off with
Yeah.
your disgusting displays. Well, that's fine, but that's not how I do it. I put him on, and I'll wear him about town.
Well, thank you to P. Thank you to Jared, and thank you to Brendan for their pedges and their pledges. We appreciate that a lot. If you too would like to be read out on the show, of course, patreon.com/dogoonpod is the way to go. And what a way it is.
What a way.
If I was going to go, I reckon if I had to choose my way to go,
It'd be on.
Patreon.
Cool.
To
I
death.
would probably
I'd
choose.
Patreon to death.
I would probably choose any of our other social media sites, which can be found at Do Go On Pod on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And you can email us at dogoonpod@gmail.com.
And we never say this, but if you have trouble remembering that, if you look at the description of this episode, all the links are there, including tickets
that's
to
true.
our show.
Yeah.
So look at the stuff. You can click on the links. They're hyperlinked, and they'll take you through to our pages and our try booking website, which is where we're selling the tickets for the Melbourne Comedy Festival. Please come along.
Please.
Matt, say please.
Please.
Good boy.
Please pledge your money.
Pledge
buy
your
a
money
ticket.
and then come and just hang out with us for a bit. It'll be fun.
Yes, we will meet you. Look, I'm not used to this.
We will be there.
Anyway, just to say goodbye, I'd like to say that I'm the best that ever was.
There ever will be.
What?
Laters.
Goodbye.
How did it end? Bye.